the story of planet growth. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126, Spreading Spiritual Energy. The first option is to control the stars, and then use the stars as the foundation to devour the stars. But if you take this path, you can refer to the stars that exist in the universe. One day, you will become one of them, and gain billions of years of lifespan, but in exchange for eternal loneliness, until your mind is extinguished. As for the third path, it is to downgrade from star consciousness to civilization pan-consciousness, and obtain sufficiently powerful thinking information from civilization, to keep yourself active at all times. As for the consequences, you can refer to the vastness of the universe today, and you can infer how many remnants of civilizations have fallen in this universe. But no matter what you choose, the endless energy represented by the stars at this stage is a must for us. Huang Xian leaned against the throne and stated his other two choices. Before Li Hao made a choice, Huang Xian put his legs down from the table, leaned forward, and said in a very oppressive way, "From my point of view, I hope you can choose the second option. After all, I think none of us has the courage to bet that our active thinking can survive billions of years of loneliness, or expect the development of civilization to continue forever. Silence exists in the temple of the gods." The other four heavenly consciousnesses deduced the future described by Huang Xian from their own perspectives, and presented the future results one by one with all the existing knowledge. As the results of each heavenly consciousness were presented in the separate thinking of each heavenly consciousness, a vote was presented in the center of the five heavenly consciousnesses. Through the judgment of the original will, this vote was passed unanimously, with the second option as the main one, thus implementing the original expansion plan. After the vote was passed at a very fast speed, the next step was to directly discuss the control of the stars. As the logistics director of Yuanxi Star, Li Hao has the most say in the specific resources of Yuanxi Star. So after thinking for a while, Li Hao said, "For more than 500 years, the soul energy we have nurtured from Hanhuang Star can only guarantee that we can produce the god particles that initially control the stars. But this means that all our investment in Hanhuang Star for more than 500 years has gone to waste. Once all the soul energy of Hanhuang Star is extracted, the entire Hanhuang Star will become a dead star in an instant." As Li Hao narrated, in the sky monitoring mirror in the center of the five heavens consciousness, a deduction about the future quickly appeared in front of the five heavens consciousness. As Yuanxi Star arrived outside the original star system, the soul energy extraction on Hanhuang Star began. Almost in an instant, all the vitality of the entire Hanhuang Star was cut off. In less than 3 Hanhuang days and nights, Hanhuang Star directly returned to the early days of the birth of the star, a terrifying scene, where all life did not exist. The red magma was like the blood of a demon, flowing wantonly throughout the Hanhuang Star. The atmosphere that was nurtured constantly flashed hideous and twisted thunders, and the endless earthquakes seemed like fetal movements. A new world was being nurtured, or it would become a dead star. On the Yuanxi Star, with the gathering of a large amount of soul energy, the endless information stored in the soul filled the foundation of the Yuanxi Star. The soul energy itself was thrown into the source force conversion furnace, continuously producing god particles as Li Hao's minions all over the original star system. The sun emitting endless brilliance was shrouded in darkness, as if the heavenly dog swallowed the sun. The original star system fell into endless darkness, with no light and all life cut off. Looking at the deduction about the future, except for Li Hao, the other four gods stood up from the throne at the same time. The boundless divine power radiated from its divine body to the surroundings, and was finally intercepted by the crystal wall layer guarding the Yuanxi Star, and turned into the energy of the Yuanxi Star. After a long time, they sat down, and the divine power radiating from their divine bodies gradually faded. To be honest, although Li Hao has been wandering in the universe for many years, he has never seen a scene where a planet with life is cut off, and a star system falls into endless darkness. That's why they were so shocked. If this deduction was not led by Li Hao would be as shocked as them. After the shock, he thought about it. Everything on the Hang Huang star was the result of Li Heo's hard work for more than 500 years. If he gave up suddenly, although he would not die, he would definitely feel uncomfortable. Not long after, Kangshan said, "In fact, we don't have to give up everything on the Hang Huang star. We have gained a lot from the Hang Huang star. In fact, we can enrich the entire original star system with our achievements on the Hang Huang star." Presumably, the soul energy provided by a Hang Huang star is not enough to complete the control of the original star. Then the soul energy of 5 stars should be enough. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. It is Kangshan's job to use existing technology to achieve the set goals with the highest efficiency. This plan is good, but in order to make the entire primordial star system full of life in a short period of time, we have to give up the existence of some things, such as the rational wisdom of living beings. Dividing line: the original star moved towards the outer edge of the original star system at a constant speed. After a large amount of soul energy was erased from the stored memory information, it was put into Li Heo's transformation furnace. Half of it was integrated into Li Heo's origin, and the other half was diluted to become God particles. From the original star, a large number of God particles drifted to the interior of the entire primordial star system and moved towards the 4 stars in the primordial star system. Unlike the prehistoric star, which naturally has the conditions for the birth of life, the other 4 stars are undoubtedly dead stars, without any vitality, and there is no trace of the existence of any soul. For the other 4 stars, Li Heo named them Da Huang Star, Man Huang Star, Mang Huang Star, and Shen Huang Star. For these 4 planets, Li Heo is not prepared to complete the transformation of these 4 stars with his patience on the prehistoric star. On the Hang Huang star, Li Heo chose to slow down the speed of evolution and provide various conditions for the birth of wisdom in order to allow the creatures on the Hang Huang star to have wisdom. On the other 4 stars, Li Heo chose to complete the evolution of life at the fastest speed, not caring about any traces of the birth of wisdom. A large number of God particles crossed the barriers of the universe and came to the outer space of the stars. On the surface of the stars, a small number of initial souls carrying the genetic information of the life of the Hang Huang star brazenly descended into the interior of the stars. Like an invasion of alien life, countless God particles condensed into various biological shapes to form material structures, crashed into the surface of the stars, and set off a frenzy of life evolution. Chapter 127, Extrastellar System. Endless vitality is bred on the surface of the 4 stars, and countless gene fragments are wandering on the planets, forming various life forms with unique shapes. The violent thunder, red magma, shrill winds, and rushing floods are like the earth, wind, water, and fire that open up a new world, transforming the old ecological system of the planet. The base number of soul energy determines the possibility of the birth of intelligent creatures, and the inheritance of civilization knowledge determines the probability of the birth of intelligent creatures. In the case of scarce initial souls, and no civilization knowledge, the planet that was influenced by the original stars to breed life has only the most violent killing and cruelty rampant on the surface of the planet, interpreting the doomsday scene of purgatory. Endless killing, terrifying blood, brutal roars, crisscrossing scarlet limbs, and the constant rhythm of life. Under the impetus of the original will, the buds of desire began to bloom inside the planet. The scarlet devices formed by God particles exist above the 4 planets, watching the new world full of killing and destruction. A sacred voice that seems to come from the beginning sounded within the planet. Kill, destroy, and destroy. Let your hot blood irrigate the dry earth. Let the will of chaos fill this world. Let all souls sink forever in desire. Let the world intertwined with desire bloom at the end of chaos. The terrifying desire evolved from chaos and injected into the creatures that had just been bred in the new world. The dark sky obscured the light from the stars, and with endless darkness, desire was fully released. War is the source of evolution, and desire is the driving force of life. Under the control of the black sky, the 4 primitive planets in the original star system began to breed a system of creatures that adapted to their respective environments. Plants absorb nutrients from the planets, thus growing thick and long branches. These branches are like nightmares in the world, wantonly plundering all vitality and strengthening their own existence. In the journey of evolution, the fight between plants is far more brutal than that between animals. Animals have leisure time after fighting, while the fight between plants continues until the end of life. With sufficient vitality, evolution continues without stopping. Not long after the genetic information carried by the God particle was put into the interior of the planet, the towering trees that existed all over the planet, all kinds of strange and inexplicable cruel flowers, and even animals running around, all spent a moment in killing and being killed. With the seeds buried in the interior of the planet, what Liheo had to wait for was the time of harvest. Time seemed to be non-existent in the universe. Almost in the blink of an eye, 500 days and nights of the primitive world passed quickly. As the Yuanxi star left the area of the original star system, the Yuanxi star once again restored all its freedom. Wandering around the edge of the original star system, peeking at the next opportunity to enter the original star system, waiting for the moment to swallow the sun. Before the Yuanxi star leaves the primordial star system and the next time it enters the primordial star system, Liheo drives the Yuanxi star to the surrounding cosmic void of the primordial star system and plunders some meteorites floating in the universe to replenish the material basis consumed by the Yuanxi star in the star system. Before the star devouring plan, Liheo used all his gains over the past 500 years as investment capital and invested it again in the bottomless pit of the primordial star system. God particles are composed of soul imprints and material particles, and the relationship between the two is equivalent to the relationship between money and the market. No matter how much money there is, without enough market, it cannot play its due role. Similarly, no matter how big the market is, if there is no money, it has nothing to do with Liheo. The universe is this market, and soul energy is money. The soul imprint marked with Liheo's mark is Liheo's money. The power of money to drive market movement is the source of power that Liheo possesses. In the original star system, by accelerating the progress of civilization, Liheo harvested a large amount of soul energy in 3 planets of the same size as the original star. Now, Liheo reinvested these harvested capitals, waiting to reap greater benefits. However, before the benefits are in hand, Liheo is ready to devour some small meteorites to accumulate stronger power to avoid being reversely devoured by the original star system. The Star Eater walks in the universe, taking the meteorites in the universe into his control, thereby strengthening his own power. The endless God particles are like loyal soldiers, splitting the meteorites one by one, sending them into the crystal wall layer, and integrating them into the original star, strengthening the sea of origin, and strengthening Liheo's power. I don't know how long it took when Liheo felt that the speed of the production of soul energy by Taksu in the void had reached a certain limit. No mistakes. 1 song, 1 post, 1 content, 1619, 1 book, 1 bar. After the extraction would lead to a break in the capital chain, Liheo decisively stopped the journey of devouring the stars. Back to the edge of the primordial star system, waiting for the opportunity to enter the primordial star system. The primordial star system with a diameter of about 1 light year stands in the empty universe, and 5 huge stars operate in order within it. Compared with the primordial stars, these 5 huge stars are undoubtedly huge monsters. But huge does not mean powerful. Under the constraints of rigid order, these stars with endless energy can only exist in the universe according to the rules of the established order. The power from other stars in the universe restricts any unnecessary movements of any star, so that the weak primordial star has the qualifications to swallow an elephant. Time passed quickly, the stars stood still, and the stars operated according to the established order. The timing was like an accurate clock, ringing the death knell of the primordial star system's existence out of the order of the universe. Survival and death are a kind of order. In the established universe, only the stars that exist according to the order of the universe are in a state of survival. Any star that violates the order of the universe is stepping into the territory of death. From the perspective of the universe, Liheo's original star is like a ghost, wantonly detaching from the order of the universe. At the same time, it is also like a deadly plague, plundering the fresh life of the stars and dragging them into the road of death that breeds life. As for whether Lee Hao's existence is a ghost of the universe, it depends on whether Lee Hao can obtain the right to reshape the order of the universe. Thus, the planet that breeds life will become an orthodox planet in the universe, and the planet that cannot breed life will be named a dead star. But now, from the overall environment of the universe, Lee Hao's existence is the ghost of the universe. And the stars that Lee Hao pulled into his system are aging stars that are gradually entering death. Thanks to the great Arcanist Alan for the 1000 starting coins reward. Chapter 128 Swallowing Stars. As the Yuan-Shi star slowly drove into the primordial star system under the control of Lee Hao, the vast amount of God particles stored on the Yuan-Shi star also continued to spread in all directions of the primordial star system. These God particles gradually enveloped the star like a black curtain covering the brilliance of the star. When the Yuan-Shi star got closer to the star, the crystal wall layer around the Yuan-Shi star began to slowly bloom like a dark chrysanthemum. The twisted and hideous crystal wall layer holes absorbed the light from the star and converted the energy from the star into God particles that could be controlled by Lee Hao at the fastest speed. The vast and boundless star energy filled the entire Yuan-Shi star in an instant, making Lee Hao feel full. Lee Hao encountered a major problem, just as the star devouring plan had just begun. In the Temple of the Gods, Lee Hao said with a serious expression, "The power of the source force conversion furnace is not enough." About 300 years later, the Yuan-Shi star will completely collapse due to the huge energy of the star. So we need to increase the power of the source force conversion furnace as quickly as possible. Hearing Lee Hao's narration, Huang Xian said with some doubts, "Are the 5 furnace nodes of Han Huang, Da Huang, Man Huang, Mang Huang, and Shen Huang not enough to devour the entire star?" The furnace nodes formed by the 5 stars only occupy 1/10,000th of the total mass of the entire original star system. Although skills can defeat brute force, when the gap between the two is too huge, skills will be ruthlessly crushed by brute force. And this is the problem we are facing now. There is a deviation between theory and practice. The soul energy produced on these 5 stars is not enough for us to accomplish the feat of devouring stars. After Huang Xian asked his question, Kang Shen, who was always executing the star devouring plan, gave his own answer. The crystal wall layer formed by the God particles covers the entire star, and then the huge energy that the star is constantly emitting is used as Lee Hao's reserve energy. By converting the star's energy bit by bit, the star will eventually become his own property, thus completing the star transformation of the original star. Otherwise, according to the speed at which Lee Hao devours the stars, plus the time wasted in finding suitable stars, it is enough to completely drag Lee Hao to death in the boundless universe. After all, the distance between stars is calculated in light years. However, although the idea is very good, the crystal wall layer covers the star to absorb material energy, and the God particles control the civilization to absorb soul energy. The combination of the two will enter an exponential expansion speed. However, just in the first step before the start, the gap between soul energy and star energy was directly misjudged. As a result, a series of subsequent growth plans are all facing the risk of bankruptcy. The energy that Lee Hao needs to control the star is the God particles that completely obey his will. It is not the kind of inert energy that can only obey the rules of the universe once it is launched. This requires that all the energy used by Lee Hao must be God particles, or at least spiritual energy. In short, the energy released by Lee Hao cannot escape Lee Hao's control. But the problem now is that Lee Hao's conversion speed of God particles is far slower than the speed of stellar energy release. In the replacement process of God particles and inert matter energy, Lee Hao's God particle manufacturing process lacks a large amount of soul energy, which makes Lee Hao's perfect control of all means of releasing energy flawed. The crystal wall layer is an absolute defense system composed entirely of God particles. Once the replacement of stellar energy and God particles is not timely, this will lead to fatal loopholes in the defense of the crystal wall layer, and Lee Hao's enemies are likely to use this loophole to complete a fatal blow to Lee Hao. 300 years later, the problem Lee Hao faces is that a large amount of stellar energy fills the entire crystal wall layer. The inert matter energy from the stars will completely replace the God particles of the original stars, allowing Lee Hao to complete the reincarnation of death at the star level, or the reincarnation of life at the soul level. The birth of stars is the silence of thinking, and the death of stars is the birth of emotions. The birth of living beings is the act of thinking, and the death of living beings is the fall of emotions. When the inert matter energy completely replaces the God particles controlled by Lihao will become a cosmic star that records Lihao's long memory. If you want to increase the production speed of soul energy, you can only push all the stars in the entire original star system, including meteorites, into chaos. Let the throbbing of living beings be born in the original star system. Hishin looked at the distressed Lihao and others and said hoarsely, "It's not that I haven't thought about this method, but I want to make the entire original star system a hotbed for the birth of life within 300 years. The chaos and killings generated in it will cause a comprehensive turmoil in the original star system. In this way, the orderly civilization we expect will have no room for birth at all." Kangshin replied in a serious voice. "No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one six, one book, one bar, one look. As the commander of the star devouring plan, Kangshin has the right to choose whether to execute other suggestions." In response to Kangshin's denial, Heishan said nonchalantly, "Only civilizations that rise in adversity are qualified for us to invest resources. For those so-called civilizations that can only grow under our protection, I don't think they have any qualifications for us to favor them." Heishan's cold voice echoed in the temple of the gods. As Heishan who looks at problems from chaos, he doesn't care about the existence of any order. He only cares about how to cause a great catastrophe in the world. How to make all living beings fall into endless killing and destruction is Heishan's responsibility and the root of Heishan's birth. When Kangshin and Hihi were arguing about the two angles of order and chaos, Lihao interrupted directly and said, "I think you two should stop arguing. What we need now is how to make the primordial star devour the stars in the safest way. Instead of walking into the death of destruction together in your argument, I think it's better to do this. Raise your hands to vote, and let the primordial will be the judge to make the final decision." As soon as the vote began, Hihi's suggestion crushed Kangshin's order with an irresistible advantage. After all, in the face of survival, the so-called order still has to succumb to objective conditions. Without the basis of existence, any argument will have no meaning at all. In order to make the entire primordial star system full of living beings within 300 years, it requires not only the investment of resources, but also the rapid cycle of life and death of living beings. In the shortest time, let the living beings die many times, with boundless terror, so as to destructively stimulate the birth of a large amount of soul energy. The good result is a gusher of soul energy, and the bad result is that order will be buried at the bottom of the abyss and become an illusory hope. When killing and destruction exist in every corner of the world, the existence of order becomes a luxury. In a world where people carry kitchen knives when they go out and start slashing people when they meet, the so-called order only exists in the minds of the strong. However, the strong are the group most easily affected by the world, because when the strong face unreasonable things, they rarely compromise. And compromise is precisely part of the factor that constitutes order. As for the strong who can overturn the whole world by themselves, they will face the malice of the whole world. Unless you kill billions of lives, it is a dream to want to build an order. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Crystal Wall Extension. Inside the original star system, the crystal wall layer on the surface of the original star absorbs the material energy exploded by the star and transforms it into God particles controlled by Lihao. At the same time, the God particles stored in the original star are released into the interior of the original star system, replacing the particles of the matter in the entire original star system. The God particles controlled by Lihao replace the material particles of the original star system, and finally bring every inch of the entire original star system under the control of Lihao. The magnificent tide of God particles, as magnificent as the sea, rushes towards the interior of the star system. Under the replacement of God particles, the entire star system gradually becomes full of vitality. The breath of life fills the area where the God particles run through, turning all the material gathering points in this area into a breeding ground for life. For example, small planets floating in the starry sky, captured by the gravity of the star, and thus wandering inside the star system, or some dense and large meteorite groups. These natural material gathering points existing in the star system are the transformation materials of small worlds in LiHeo's eyes. Layers of crystal wall films were formed around the material gathering points, simulating the existing ecological system of the prehistoric star. Thus, an ecological system for the reproduction of life was established at the material gathering points within each crystal wall area. Under the support of the energy of the star, LiHeo had no intention of saving the energy in his hands. Every transformed material gathering point was invested with sufficient spiritual energy to turn it into a world with sufficient energy. At this time, what LiHeo needed most was not the spiritual energy that could provide life for reproduction and growth, but how to turn each material gathering point into a life breeding ground with many lives. For LiHeo, the energy erupted by the star was enough to transform all of LiHeo's soul energy into God particles, and it was more than enough. However, the problem LiHeo faced now was a serious lack of soul energy, which made LiHeo unable to transform the energy erupted by the star every moment into God particles. As a result, LiHeo's plan to devour the star with a crystal wall had a serious loophole. Under the joint control of the 5-day consciousness, almost all the material gathering points in the entire original star system were forcibly wrapped with a layer of crystal wall composed of God particles. These crystal walls operate according to the established rules of the original will, and have carried out drastic transformations on the internal material gathering points wrapped by the crystal wall layers. Inside the countless worlds covered by the crystal wall layers, the wandering meteorites that exist as the world continents are forcibly compressed and transformed, and are directly cut in half regardless of size. Half of them float in the center of the crystal wall layer as continents, and the other half is activated by the God particles, and then becomes spiritual energy and spreads throughout the world, composed of the crystal wall layers. Thus, it becomes mountains, rivers, lakes, and even the vast ocean. The spiritual veins are formed under the continents, constantly promoting the spiritual energy circulation system in the entire world. Thus, the spiritual energy running inside the world can interact with the God particles that constitute the crystal wall layer, so as to keep the spiritual energy fully active. After the continent has evolved according to the established program, around the continent, a blue ocean that extends to the end of the sky continues to expand towards the crystal wall layer. At an expansion speed without any obstruction, it directly passes through the restrictions of the crystal wall layer, and thus reaches the cosmic environment outside the crystal wall layer. On the periphery of the crystal wall layer, the ocean tides composed of God particles are connected to the world ocean inside the crystal wall layer, thus forming a cosmic ocean that connects all the crystal wall worlds in the entire star system. In this way, the worlds with a diameter of about 1 light year are closely linked together, shortening the time required for world navigation. Inside the crystal wall world, with the Hang-Huang star as a sample, countless material structures belonging to the Hang-Huang star are reproduced in each crystal wall world. Like 3D printing, it quickly takes shape inside the world. At the same time, there are also a large number of genetic combination life forms in the experimental stage that are put into the world, thus forming various strange creatures in the crystal wall world. For the time being, these strange creatures are just some dead things, and they have no vitality. Although they look lifelike on the surface, they do not produce any soul energy in the judgment mechanism of the original will, so naturally they will not be classified as a living system. In the center of the temple of the gods, the projection of the world sea composed of the worlds inside the star system rises and falls in front of the 5 heavens consciousness. This is a 3-dimensional elliptical sphere. In this world sea, that looks like a globe, a large number of worlds appear accurately in front of LiHeo and others. Now we have used 2/3 of the God particles we have stored. If it continues to spread like this, our origin will be used, thus damaging our foundation. Therefore, the next step of collecting soul energy needs to be implemented as soon as possible. No mistake, 1 sentence, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 look. Li Hao casually flicked the star instrument in front of him, and suddenly the star instrument, projecting all the worlds in the entire world sea, it began to rotate wildly, just like a globe that keeps rotating in the hands of a child. Boom. With a light sound, the crazy rotating star instrument was directly paused by Kai Shine with violent means. A slender dart accurately nailed on the Hangliang star displayed inside the star instrument. Suddenly, in the Hangliang star sky far away at the edge of the star, a muffled thunder flashed, startling the spirits of heaven and earth. For a moment, in the Hangliang, an inexplicable throbbing appeared in the souls of all living beings. If we want to quickly fill the worlds with living beings, we also need to use the existence of the well of gods and demons. Extend the void in the void to the entire star system, thus forming the three realms of heaven, earth and man. In the form of a battle of faith in gods, provoke a battle among all realms, and promote the rapid rotation of life and death. The well of gods and demons has the function of connecting all realms, allowing any living being to descend into any crystal wall world in the star system in a short period of time. The extension of this function is to allow the reincarnation channel inside the well of gods and demons to circulate the souls of all realms and spirits after their death in the shortest time. Just like money makes money, let the soul quickly increase the total energy of the soul between the reincarnation of life and death. Then let's do it this way. Let the original beings rotate between life and death, sink into the sea of suffering in the world of mortals, and give everything for our strength. Also, since the system of the 1,000 worlds has been formed, then these worlds that exist in the material universe are called the plane system. Thanks to Brother Kanchan and Kai and Mengxian for the 100 starting coins reward. Chapter 135 Continents. In the universe, the stars that shine in the world are gradually shrouded in shadows. The restraints from the crystal wall want to devour the energy emitted by the stars every moment bit by bit. In the temple of the gods, Li Hao and others divide the plane system, the 1,000 world system, and the star system into their own different points to distinguish them. The plane system is a world with a round sky and a square earth formed by the gathering point of matter. In this kind of world, the whole world is in a distorted state. The sky and the earth are combined. Whether mortals or gods, as long as they walk in one direction, they can walk all the way to the edge of the star system and reach the place named by Li Hao. The 1,000 world system is a virtual world formed by the intersection of historical nodes. In this kind of world, the whole world is in the torrent of history. The world of consciousness confrontation is formed by the irreversible historical torrent and the information interference from the outside world as two evolutionary confrontation units. The star system is a planetary world that exists in the material universe with stars and meteorites as units. The existence of this kind of world is no different from that of normal planets in the universe. Among the three types of world systems, the star system was temporarily classified by Li Hao into another level, which is in a place that all living beings cannot observe. In the original star system, all living beings were divided into three levels by Li Hao and others: ordinary things, extraordinary things, and gods. Ordinary things refer to all life forms whose soul consciousness cannot actively sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Extraordinary things refer to all life forms whose soul consciousness can actively sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Gods refer to all life forms whose soul consciousness is combined with the power of heaven and earth, thus forming a primordial spirit and turning into a god. In these three levels of life, the world seen by each level is different. The world seen by ordinary things is the material world of the round sky and square earth. That is, the world of the plane system. The world seen by extraordinary creatures is the plane system and the 1,000 world system. Extraordinary creatures have two perception systems: the five senses perception system of the material body and the divine consciousness perception system of the soul state. The former is the means for extraordinary creatures to perceive the material plane, and the latter is the means for extraordinary creatures to perceive the 1,000 worlds. Extraordinary creatures can directly reach the 1,000 worlds by separating their souls from their physical bodies, thus completing the sharp transformation of their soul's will. As for the world seen by the gods, there are three states: material senses, soul senses, and power senses. The gods can see the material plane world, the 1,000 worlds, and the world where spiritual energy is running. These three states can be called the eyes of the past of the soul, the eyes of the present of the material, and the eyes of the future of power. Power is both spiritual energy and luck. The gods can collect information left over from the past through the eyes of the soul, and thus see the past. They can also face the living beings of heaven and earth directly through the eyes of matter, and can also accurately see the general trend of the future through the flow of the luck of heaven and earth. Under this layered division, the gap between each level has formed an insurmountable gap. As the original plane system gradually completed its structure, Lihao and others began to focus their attention on the 5 major stars at this time. Hong Huang Star, Man Huang Star, Mang Huang Star, Shen Huang Star, and Ah Huang Star. These 5 stars are different from the plane world, constructed by Lihao. Although they are also in the state of round sky and square earth in the eyes of all living beings, their mass determines their location and their indelible importance in the entire original star system. The other plane worlds are all worlds forcibly fabricated by Lihao using many material fragments. Although they look almost the same as the normal world, as long as a strong enough life form travels between the 2 worlds once, it can clearly feel the difference between the 2 worlds. The gap between the 2 is like a thick continent and loose sand. For a stronger life form, the more dangerous the plane world is. Among the 5 stars, the Earth vein aura buried by Lihao is equivalent to the sum of thousands of plane worlds. It can be said that, even if the 5 stars sneeze, it can cause a turbulent or a storm in thousands of plane worlds. In the Temple of the Gods, Lihao looked at the 5 stars in the projection of the star instrument, with divine light flickering in his eyes, and a large amount of plane information flowed through Lihao's eyes. But after a while, a white light covered Lihao's eyes, and then Lihao stretched out his right hand. Just like the sky falling, he slapped the star instrument into a plane with a slap. The thousands of planes of the world are like islands on the map, circling around the 5 major stars in a fixed order, thus forming a plane system cycle with the 5 major stars as the main body. No mistakes. 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar. In the perception of all living beings, as Lihao slapped the star instrument into a plane, the perception system of all living beings changed dramatically in silence. The system information belonging to the plane world and the thousands of worlds was naturally injected into the thinking of the gods, so that even the strong ones including the ancient gods did not notice it at all. After Lihao forcibly tampered with the perception system of all living beings about the world with great power, he lowered his own perception height. Thus, he observed the current original crystal wall system with the perception method of a powerful ancient god. As Lihao lowered his perception, the whole world suddenly changed dramatically in his eyes. The plane worlds floating in the 3-dimensional state of the universe suddenly became a flat state. Countless large and small plane continents are separated by the ocean, forming a vast world map. This world map is based on the 5 largest continents, forming a pattern in which the main material plane dominates thousands of planes. The majestic energy that bursts out from the stars at all times is transported by the ocean, shuttles through the plane worlds, and then reaches the main material plane continent. Then it circulates through the spiritual energy in the veins of the main material plane continent, and then returns to the location of the star again. At this time, in Lihao's eyes, the entire original star system is divided into 7 progressive levels. From the highest order small world, to the 2nd level of the evolution of the world, to the 3rd level of the change of the world. The 4th level is below, forming a whole material plane world. The 5th and 6th levels are equivalent to the 3rd and 2nd levels, except that one is the evolution of chaos from order, and the other is the evolution of order from chaos. As for the 7th level world at the bottom, it is an absolutely chaotic small world. Chapter 131, Reincarnation of Gods and Demons. 3 realms, the upper world, the order is too empty. The lower world, the chaos is empty. And the material world, the heavens. These 3 levels of worlds form the current system of the original star system, thus forming a different world from the material universe. Pulling his perspective back to a higher level, Lihao broke away from the perspective of the strongest ancient god, and looked at the material universe in front of him again. A subtle feeling flashed through Lihao's mind. Why does this feel like dimensionality reduction and dimensionality increase? Ordinary things look at the world from their own perspective, like countless points on a line. This is a one-dimensional perspective. Extraordinary people look at the world from the perspective of multiple worlds, like countless lines on a surface. This is a two-dimensional perspective. Gods look at the world from the perspective of the present, the past, and the future, like countless faces on a body. This is a three-dimensional perspective. Gods look at the world from countless dynamic perspectives, as if they are above time. This is a four-dimensional perspective. Li Hao's mind was open for a while, and he was about to turn to an unknown corner. Kang Xian's cough awakened Li Hao, who was in a state of brainstorming. Haha. Li Hao laughed awkwardly, then regrouped and said seriously, now our construction of the material plane is nearing completion. Whether it is the material resources for the survival of mortals or the soul resources for the gods to start a war, everything is in place. Now all we have to do is to set off the fuse of Han Huang Star, the birthplace of all worlds, so that the gods can spread to the heavenly planes. Living beings are constructed by material bodies and soul energy, plus the self-will born in the void. For this self-will born from time, Li Hao and others have no way to deal with it for the time being. After all, Li Hao still doesn't know how the self-will of living beings is born. Generally speaking, as long as the soul is combined with matter, and time is used as the source of motivation, the self-will will naturally appear, which is simply amazing. However, although the process of the birth of self-will is amazing, it does not mean that the self-will of living beings will not be affected by the outside world. It can even be said that self-will is a magical existence formed by the intersection of countless external factors. Most of the time, self-will changes with the changes of the external times. Only in a few cases, self-will will be strong enough to dominate the torrent of the times and let all developments change with the changes of self-will. Such a life form with strong self-will is rare, but it is not impossible to create. Although it is difficult to become a strong self-willed being by relying on the creature itself, factors from the outside world can interfere with the possibility of the birth of such a creature. Heroes create the times, and the times create heroes. When luck comes, the world will work together, and when luck is gone, heroes are not free. Standing on the cusp of the storm, even pigs can fly. From countless proverbs in Chinese civilization, we can know that heroes, such creatures with strong self-will and determination, can be created. It's just that ordinary creatures do not have this ability to create heroes, so they can only expect civilization to create the existence of heroes. However, this problem does not exist for Li Hao. As the material basis for the existence of living beings, the sole basis for the birth of living beings will, and the light of hope for the supreme goal of living beings, Li Hao can completely rely on the vast resources to pile up countless heroic beings. In this way, he can use these protagonists of heaven and earth dancing in his hands to achieve his ambitious goal of becoming stronger and stronger. After Li Hao summarized the current situation, Kang Xian looked at the empty heaven plane and the star instrument in front of him. Although these material planes now meet all the conditions for the birth of living beings, they still lack an opportunity to be perfect. And this opportunity is the ability of the well of gods and demons to travel through all realms, combined with the power of reincarnation and rebirth of the Samsara millstone. Let the souls of the living beings under our control reincarnate in the planes of the heavens, thereby enriching the resources of living beings in each plane of the world. Use material resources to breed soul resources. Use soul resources to breed the protagonists of heaven and earth, and use the protagonists of heaven and earth to promote the development of the world. By then, our bodies will be the bodies of all living beings, our souls will be the souls of all living beings, and our goals will be the goals of all living beings. In this way, we can be considered to have achieved our goal. And now, everything is ready, only the east wind is lacking. No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum. In the temple of the gods, the five heavens consciousness gathered their own great power and whispered, the heavens gather, the gods and demons reincarnate. With the trajectory of the reincarnation of all spirits, the coordinates of the existence of all worlds are revealed. Following the command of the five heavens power, the heavenly planes located in the original star system began to connect with the reincarnation millstone in the well of gods and demons. Countless plane coordinates emerged on the surface of the reincarnation millstone like hundreds of rivers returning to the sea. presenting a sacred light that illuminated the three realms of heaven, earth and man, attracting the eyes of the gods of the heavens. The eyes of countless gods gathered together inside the well of gods and demons. As Hatu, who was in charge of the reincarnation of all living beings, suddenly felt a vast and inexplicable shocking power coming towards her. This powerful pressure made even Hatu, who was an ancient god, tremble. This was a powerful force from the gathering of the gods, from the gods of the heavens, and from the demons of the demon world. The powerful pressure from the gathering of the gods of the heavens and the ancient gods of all races forced Hatu to withdraw from the state of being one with the reincarnation millstone. As Hatu broke away from the wheel of reincarnation, countless world information was immediately transmitted to the gods of the heavens. The spirits of the gods and demons were like signal receivers, receiving and understanding the information from the planes of the heavens. The vast amount of information from the heavens and the divine consciousness of the heavens intersected, causing the wheel of reincarnation to bear tremendous pressure, and a few strange cracks of horror and inexplicable horror appeared on the wheel of reincarnation. Not long after, the intersection of the information from the heavens and the divine consciousness ended. With a loud bang, the wheel of reincarnation was completely shattered, and countless fragments were scattered inside the well of gods and demons, thus merging with the well of gods and demons, and no longer distinguished from each other. Puff! Countless drops of divine blood fell into the world, where the gods were, giving rise to countless magical things. The vibration caused by the breaking of the wheel of reincarnation traumatized the gods of the heavens, but compared to their own injuries, they were obviously more interested in those planes of the heavens that had not yet descended. Countless gods heard the news and gathered towards the well of gods and demons. At this time, the well of gods and demons was combined with the wheel of reincarnation, and the abilities of the two were also combined with each other. The power of traveling through all realms and the power of reincarnation of all spirits, the combination of the two created the supreme status of the well of gods and demons. Chapter 132, Gods and Demons Fight. The well of gods and demons on the Hangheung star is the place where the reincarnation of the worlds is located. Countless souls enter the well of gods and demons from the material world. Then, with the help of the reincarnation function of the well of gods and demons, they go to reincarnation in the heavens and the worlds. The reincarnation function of the well of gods and demons at this time is different from the past. After the reincarnation millstone is broken, the reincarnation power that dominates the reincarnation of all souls is damaged. When the reincarnation millstone existed in the past, no matter how powerful the creatures were, they could not escape the influence of memory erasure. Thus, it became the place where the original soul reincarnates in the worlds, bringing new evolutionary power to the worlds. Now, after the reincarnation millstone is broken, and then merged with the well of gods and demons, creatures with strong enough obsession can even reincarnate with their memories, so as to continue to write their own myths in another world. Of course, the premise is that this strong man can get rid of the pursuit of his enemies. The series of influences produced after the reincarnation millstone was broken have brought about huge changes to the pattern of the entire original star system. Beings as powerful as gods can reach the planes of the heavens through the well of gods and demons and turn everything in the plane into their own property. However, beings as weak as mortals can only have all their marks erased by the well of gods and demons, and all their past lives will vanish into thin air. After the well of gods and demons merged with the wheel of Samsara, the sacred light that erupted attracted the gods and demons of the heavens and the worlds. The shining light of the gods and the unpredictable shadow of the demons stood around the well of gods and demons, and the powerful divine power crushed all mortals like the sky and the earth. Countless layers of phantoms of the world lingered in the two realms, and countless gods and demons were hidden in the phantoms of the world. The evil eyes of the ancient beasts peeked out from the demon world, and the strange and inexplicable evil words echoed in the demon world. I saw the existence of a new world. It is a wild world that has never been illuminated by the light of the gods. There is everything we need. I can't wait to descend into that world. Hehehehe. Countless demonic words that seem to be hidden in the depths of chaos sounded in the demon world. This is a language that belongs only to the demons, and it is a demonic language that gathers the essence of all negative emotions in the world. All creatures who hear it will become demons on the spot. Gods who hear it will fall into the abyss. Only those with firm wills cannot be affected by the demonic words. In fact, whether it is a so-called demonic words or the noble sacred sound, it is just a way of infecting the power of emotions. In daily conversations, living beings can rely on their emotions to influence the other party's thinking and distinguish friends from enemies. As for the two extreme emotional languages, the divine language and the demonic language, their infectious power is even stronger. The same information, when spoken by the divine language, is the condensation of all positive emotions such as order and glory. And when spoken by the demon language, it is the condensation of all negative emotions such as destruction, killing, and damage. The existence of gods and demons is a huge source of information infection. Even unconsciously, they can turn everything around them into substances of the same nature as themselves. Now, as the eyes of the demons gather outside the netherworld, looking across to the well of gods and demons, they meet the eyes of the gods on the opposite side, resulting in a huge collision. The sacred and the evil coexist, the light and the darkness fight, and the order and the chaos blend. The two mutually repelling forces instantly turn the thousands of creatures reincarnated in the well of gods and demons into their own dependents, and then start a tragic fight with their soul bodies. Countless souls shattered and disappeared in the well of gods and demons, reincarnated in the planes of the heavens, carrying the marks of the gods and demons, and heading to the coordinates of the planes of the heavens. Just when the dependents of the gods and demons were fighting, a force of eternal silence and tranquility permeated the battlefield, where the gods and demons fought. Enough. A cold and indifferent divine voice seemed to suppress the raging anger, forcefully suppressing the aftermath of the battle between gods and demons, and repelling the interference of gods and demons from the souls of all spirits. It is my duty to protect the souls of the dead. Please do not interfere with the peace of the land of reincarnation. Otherwise, don't blame me for settling accounts with you gods. How to's divine voice echoed in the world and resounded in the ears of gods and demons. The deterrent power of an ancient god is not something that other gods and demons can ignore. The reason why the gods and demons were able to separate How-To from the combination of the reincarnation millstone was because of the mischief of the five heavens power and the curiosity of the gods and demons. Now, in the absence of another ancient god to confront him, it is not wise to rashly make enemies with an ancient god. Please calm down, great Lord How-To. You are the god appointed by His Majesty the Three Emperors to guard the reincarnation. As subordinates of His Majesty the Three Emperors, we will naturally obey the Three Emperors' oracles, and will not interfere with the duties of great Lord How-To. But those dirty demon gods will not be so obedient, so please join forces with great Lord How-To. No mistakes. One poem, one post, one content, 1/6, one book, one bar. Take a look. Drive these rats in the gutter out of the netherworld reincarnation land, so that all spirits can have peace. In the camp of the gods, Aoling came to the gods with the steps of a dragon and a tiger, with a feigned attitude of commanding the gods. As the strongest god after the disappearance of the three emperors, Aoling has gone through 2 wars with the ancient gods of the 4 seas for the ruling power of the dragon clan and the gods of the phoenix for the ruling power of the gods. At this time, he already has the ability to unify the gods again, and thus hold high the throne of the gods. In the demon world, as Aoling's words just came out, the words of the temporary leader of the demons, the demon boson, rang out among the gods and demons. What are you talking about? What do you mean by a rat hiding in the gutter? We demon gods are also the orthodox gods, and we are also the ministers of the 3 emperors. How can you strip us demon gods of the gods and drive them out of the gods with just one sentence? Who do you think you are? Do you want to usurp the throne? The words of the demon boson caused the gods and demons to tremble. Although there were many contradictions between the gods and demons, and they fought almost every day, but in the gods of the gods, the demon gods undoubtedly belonged to the gods. This was an item in the agreement, signed by the 3 emperors of the gods and the primordial demon lord. Although the 2 parties never took it seriously, the demon proposed it at this time, which hit Aoling's soft spot hard. Although Aoling unified the gods on the surface, he was a minister of the 3 emperors after all. Although Aoling is the most respected god in the god clan at this time, the name of Aoling's ruling over the god clan is still under the 3 emperors. He commands the dragon god clan in the name of the heavenly emperor, and suppresses the phoenix gods with the dragon god clan. With the power of the 2 clans, he commands the gods under the command of the human emperor. No matter how you calculate it, Aoling cannot get rid of the influence of the three emperors, not to mention that although Aoling is the strongest among the gods at this time, he himself has no intention of replacing the three emperors. Facing the turmoil of the gods and demons, Aoling was not too nervous. He just raised his hand slightly, and the invisible pressure suppressed the restlessness of the gods and demons. As expected of the Lord of Heavenly Demons, this ability to bewitch the mind is really handy. Thanks to ZHU Shy and DAO for the 1000 starting coins reward. Chapter 133 Joint Development. I'm just stating the facts. May I ask the god if there is anything wrong with what I said? Please let the god know. The demon Piozun said uprightly. Although compared with Piozun's upright attitude, the bewitching demon sound surrounding Piozun is still spreading to the surroundings, thereby interfering with the normal thinking mode of the gods. However, the demon did not care about this state at all, because in the demon's thinking mode, he believed that all living beings were accepting the influence of the outside world and then changing themselves. And he just deepened and aggravated this influence from the outside world. The chaotic ancient gods and demons penetrated the barrier of space and descended directly to the edge of the heaven, trying to pull the gods existing on the edge of the heaven into the demon world. Under the interference of this ancient god and demon sound, the inexplicable thinking will began to influence the normal thinking cycle of the gods, and it was about to pull the gods at the edge into chaos. The sacred light from Aoling was like the light of a star illuminating the darkness, forming a solid protective barrier. Standing outside the consciousness of the gods, blocking the interference of Parkson's devilish voice. HMPH. Parkson, compared to your actions, your words are not convincing at all. Aoling did not want to argue with Parkson about the internal affairs of the gods, because once he started arguing with Parkson, he would fall into the traps set by Parkson for himself, especially when the rifts in the gods, caused by the disappearance of the three emperors, had not been completely healed. Stepping into the rhythm of others, and acting according to the rhythm of others, the consequences will always be irreversible. I'm just stating the facts. You are trying to limit the thinking of the gods and block my words. I don't think there is anything wrong with my behavior. What's more, as the most noble god in the heavens and the worlds, if you can't even listen to the words of outsiders, then what is the basis for this so-called god to be called a god? You use the attitude of bullying the weak to forcibly distort the thinking of his god, and make his gods will follow your thoughts. In order to complete your purpose of controlling his gods' thinking, you dare to say that you are not bewitching the gods, making them deviate from order, and fall into chaos. Chaos is also one of the sources of power of the gods. You don't recognize the position of chaos in the gods. In the final analysis, you still want to beat us out of the ranks of the gods. You are violating the will of the three emperors, and you are plotting to usurp the throne. After twisting and turning, the demon Bozun once again circled the question back to Aoling's violation of the three emperors oracle. When thought and power are combined, the inductive power contained in language will be an unmatched power. Without knowing it, the gods who obey the order and glorify the heavens can be easily pulled into endless chaos. The gods shine in the world because they obey the order. When the gods violate the order with their power, they fall into the devil's way and become gods, demons or evil gods. The source of the quarrel between Aoling and Bozun is that Aoling believes that Bozun is forcibly interfering with the thinking mode of the gods with his ancient god power. He wants to pull the gods who obey the order and glorify the heavens into the demon camp that advocates violence and destruction. This is intolerable for Aoling. Obeying the order is the only criterion for the existence of gods, and one of the foundations of the existence of the gods. Those gods who try to violate the order of the gods by their own power are defective products to be destroyed. But for the demon Bozun, Aoling's behavior of emphasizing order is limiting the future of everything. Putting everything into a rigid order will turn this beautiful world into a pool of stagnant water. For the gods who possess the strongest power and are the main existence of the world, obeying order and destroying order are just a matter of thought. And the interference from the higher power is this feather that overwhelms the balance. How to, who exists in the depths of the netherworld, watched the argument between Aoling and Barkson become more and more intense, and almost at the next moment, she would order all the gods and demons to fight head on in this place, where all spirits reincarnate. How to ordered the gods and demons in anger. Enough. This is the place where all spirits reincarnate, designated by His Majesty the Three Emperors. It is not a battlefield for you to argue about right and wrong. Tell us your purpose and get out of here. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. The majestic power of the ancient gods is like the destruction of the abyss that overturns the world, covering the heads of all gods and demons. The horrible death is like the horn that rings the death knell of the gods, ringing endlessly in time and space. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. The roaring death roamed around the gods and demons, like the most vicious abyss, enveloping and devouring everything of the gods and demons. How to, who was born with the two sides of the earth demon, was in acquired posture most of the time, but this did not mean that How to was a good person. When How to was angry, the horror and despair from the earth demon would be like the darkest abyss, devouring everything in the world, dragging everything into fear and despair. In the netherworld, this is How to's home ground. With the help of the netherworld and the power of death accumulated by the reincarnation of all spirits in the netherworld, it is enough to execute the ultimate death sentence on any existence below the ancient gods, and wipe out all traces of all living beings in the world from the source. When How to was furious, a hint of a hidden smile appeared at the corner of Boyan's mouth, but then disappeared, and returned to the previous calm. I want to share the coordinates of the heavenly planes, so that the demon gods who are also gods can descend to the heavenly planes. As long as you agree, I will withdraw my troops immediately and never set foot in the netherworld again. Bozan stated his conditions neatly and swiftly, and with How to's furious deterrence, he made demands to Aoling. I agree, but you must not interfere with the reincarnation of all spirits without authorization, and you must not devour the souls of all spirits and turn them into your own power. Deal. In just a few words, the gods and demons quickly reached an agreement that could be torn up at any time, but completed their respective withdrawals. After the gods and demons withdrew, How to carried the power of the netherworld and blocked the entire well of gods and demons, so that the gods and demons could not interfere with the normal reincarnation of all spirits. However, although How to completed the blockade of the well of gods and demons, making it impossible for the power of gods and demons to easily interfere with the reincarnation of all spirits. However, Aoling and Bozan, who were at the top of the gods and demons, completed the information sharing between the two sides, and planted their own backup in the reincarnation channel. Exploring the heavens is not an easy task. Even with the great power of the gods, it is difficult to easily descend into the material plane. They need a medium to descend into the material plane and bring the material plane under their control, so as to complete the achievement of deriving civilization on the material plane. Chapter 134, The Value of Material Civilization. There is a close connection between the civilization existing in the material plane and the projection civilization existing in the void. In the stage of the small world, the changes in material civilization will continuously affect the birth and destruction of the projection civilization. The projection civilization at this stage is the historical legacy of material civilization. In the stage of the middle world, the changes between material civilization and projection civilization affect each other. Material civilization breeds the roots of projection civilization, and the development history of projection civilization, after deviating from the established trajectory, corrects the direction of material civilization, thereby providing different development directions for material civilization, to avoid the irreversible consequences caused by the demise of material civilization. As for the Great World at the highest stage in the Thousand World system, this is an alternative world completely different from material civilization. To a certain extent, the civilization in the Great World is a historical failure, or a historical civilization that has fallen into a bottleneck. Their way forward is dead, so they can only hope that the emergence of a new system can break through the bottleneck and reach a higher level. Of course, this is the evolution process of the Thousand Worlds in the normal stage. Generally speaking, it is a leap from the middle world to the Great World. Usually, they are forced to evolve under external pressure or internal war. For example, the existence of the demon world was established under the pressure of the gods. The future evolution of the entire demon race is in the hands of the prehistoric beings. The thoughts of the prehistoric beings are defining the existence of demons at all times. To a certain extent, the existence of demons is born from the prehistoric beings. The existence of material civilization has an unshakable significance for many plans in the original star system. Once the support and evolution of material civilization are lost, the thousand worlds system, the innate god system, and even the newly formed material plane system established by Lihaya will suffer a fatal blow. Therefore, after the initial incubation of prehistoric civilization, Lihaya began to make the prehistoric civilization, a big tree rooted in the material universe, more prosperous. The roots of countless prehistoric civilizations are inserted into the material planes one by one, and the prosperous branches and leaves of prehistoric civilization are derived from the many resources in the material planes. The flourishing branches and leaves of the prehistoric civilization breed the existence of the gods of the higher world, and the gods of the higher world serve as a support to build the entire original system. Under such an interlocking structure, the existence of material civilization will be the lifeblood of Lihaya. In the chaotic void, Lihaya is like a shadow behind everything, calmly describing and recording the current chronology of the original history. In the first era of the original calendar, the Chaos era began when the Yuan-Shi star arrived at the original star system, and ended when the starlight rotated around the prehistoric star 532 times. In the second era of the original calendar, the God and Demon era began with the birth of the material plane, and ended at the time dividing line since the most powerful bosses of the gods and demons signed the God and Demon agreement. The God and Demon well at the junction of Takesu and the void has officially fallen into closure. Except for the souls of the dead, no gods, demons, or even the living can enter the God and Demon well and interfere with the reincarnation of all souls. However, the backup plan left by the gods and demons before, along with the reincarnation of all souls, intervened in the planes of the heavens. Inside the original star system, the basic material structure of all living beings is derived from the physical body of all souls, which is based on the dragon gene. As the most complete blood map in the hands of the heavens, whether for the reason of making all living beings adapt to the rules, or for the reason of controlling the fate of all living beings. When the heavens create physical bodies for all living beings, they will follow the blood map of the dragon clan to structure the physical bodies of all living beings. The blood of the dragon clan is linked to power and supernatural power. All living beings with dragon blood in their bodies will be in the hands of the heavens and gain the right to control supernatural power. In the planes of the heavens, a large number of souls of the dead from the prehistoric star or the void are taken into the reincarnation channel by the boundless attraction of the well of gods and demons. The supreme power of the reincarnation channel cleanses the soul memory of the dead, and finally randomly sends them to the planes of the heavens to start their new life. Of course, during the cleansing process of this reincarnation channel, there are still a large number of souls with deep obsessions whose memories have not been erased. Instead, they are born into the heavenly planes with some fragmented memories, thus providing good and convenient conditions for the gods and demons to descend into the material plane. Inside the dark and deep well of gods and demons, a large number of souls follow the operation of the world's rules and enter the reincarnation channel. The endless vortex is like a sharp blade, ruthlessly cutting the complete soul of the dead, trying to completely crush the soul of the dead into the most basic initial soul. In the reincarnation channel, every soul of the dead will experience endless torture before they can complete the steps of reincarnation. Walking in the dark reincarnation passage that was like the abyss, How-To looked at the souls of the dead who were struggling in the vortex of reincarnation, and said with mercy, memory is the root, bringing you endless torture. Emotion is poison, bringing you deep despair. Desire is the root of evil, bringing you extreme destruction. No mistake, one song, one post, one content, one sex, one book, one bar, one look. So, forget it. Forget all the things in your previous life. Give up the memories of the past. Come to the world again with a clean body. Start your new life journey, and let all the things in the past disappear into thin air. As How-To's divine voice sounded in the reincarnation passage, the sacred power from How-To was like amniotic fluid that nurtured life. It enveloped the souls struggling in pain, so that all souls no longer suffered torture, despair, and destruction. In the reincarnation passage, memory, emotion, and desire are the three things that must be given up. Only by giving up these three things can the soul have the possibility of reincarnation. The deeper the memory, the more intense the torment from reincarnation. The more determined the emotion is, the more terrifying the despair from reincarnation is. The more endless the desire is, the more endless the destruction from reincarnation is. Memories deepen torture, emotions give birth to despair, and desires destroy the soul. In the soul's shattering and reorganization again and again, either the soul completely forgets everything, or the soul is broken into countless fragments. Only in a way that the reincarnation channel cannot sense it can it pass through reincarnation and be reborn. The former soul that forgets everything can be under the protection of how to, with a clean soul. Through the reincarnation channel, it will eventually be reincarnated into an ordinary creature at the average level of the world. The latter, in the endless torture of reincarnation, endures the pain of thousands of cuts, and reincarnates into the world in the form of scattered countless fragments. The former does not need to be considered. If there is no major change, it is basically an ordinary creature, peacefully from birth to death, with some suffering, but ultimately cannot escape reincarnation again. The latter is either a great traitor or a great evil, either with an extremely miserable death, or transcending life and death, and ascending to the realm of God. Chapter 135 Outline Reorganization completed. I will officially resume updating twice a day starting tomorrow, and I hope for your support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 God's Descent. Without the will to transcend everything, without the perseverance to destroy the world, without the terror above all things, how can one ascend to the realm of God? The birth of every innate God is the destruction and fusion of thousands of creatures in a world. Since you are tired of endless repetition and reincarnation, but you are powerless to resist the repetitive fate, then let me carry your will and bring your future to the new world, to that wonderful world full of endless variables. In the chaotic void, Eluohau, one of the three demons in the demon world, walked in the endless void. The terrifying demon flames behind him were like the world-destroying demon fire, ruthlessly destroying one small world after another, and then completely turned all the things and spirits in the small world into one of the sources of his own strength. The power of transcendence and liberation from all living beings is like a sweet spring, nourishing Eluohau's demon body, feeding Eluohau's consciousness, and strengthening Eluohau's faith. The small world is a special world that uses the trajectory of one's life to record the history of changes in material civilization. If there are no major changes, the small world will continue to repeat the historical trajectory of material civilization, accepting the mistakes of history again and again, bearing the pain of civilization destruction again and using the soul of the whole world to accept the punishment from material civilization. However, compared with the small world of order in the void, the small world of chaos in the void repeats endless chaos. The small world of the void accepts all the historical fragments from the material world and thus reorganizes the world. In the small world of the void, destruction is commonplace, reincarnation is an eternal proposition, and everything is repeating the most initial chaos. No matter how hard you struggle, as long as you don't transcend the world, the small world is a machine for manufacturing death and destruction. Order erases the changes of living beings, and chaos destroys all achievements. A fixed process eventually promotes the recurrence of tragedy. A locked result makes all struggles meaningless. If the small world of order can still rely on external influences, and then through the distortion process, it can shape new results, then the chaotic world can only face the horror of the whole world, to have the opportunity to escape the ultimate destruction. Who is willing to use his soul and his life as the price to constantly reshape the mistakes made by material civilization one by one? Who is willing to make his life a meaningless struggle? No matter how hard he tries, he will eventually face the ultimate destruction. Even if these memories are completely annihilated in the process of reincarnation every time, the pain engraved on the soul is always reminding the creatures in the world, we are not the bearers of your mistakes, but your warnings. When history repeats again and again, when your stupidity shapes destruction again and again, we will take over the history of your evolution of civilization, and we will complete the replacement. You will accept the pain, and we will open up a new world. The screams and shouts of thousands of creatures seem to be telling the world something. The crazy roars of billions of sentient beings seem to be telling something to Luohao. This roar of the soul that has injured the pain of history is driving the demon Luohao to move forward into the material world. The blood-red demon pupils are like a terrifying storm that sweeps across everything, emitting a heart-pounding boundless coldness. It is a kind of freezing that comes from silence, but in this cold freezing, it contains hatred that cannot be washed away, even if all the water in the ocean is poured out. In the netherworld, the rumbling thunder swept across the entire world, and the overwhelming hatred covering the endless netherworld seemed to be a poison. It corroded and assimilated the thousands of dead souls from the heavens and the worlds who were about to enter the endless reincarnation. This poison aroused the boundless pain hidden deep in the soul, using hatred as fuel to turn the entire soul into a demonic flame, erupting with terrifying and shocking magic power. Just as Luohao was eroding the netherworld with the power of the supreme ancient god, the power of the ancient god from How-To blocked Luohao. The divine voice with a hint of anger in the compassion sounded like the coldest order. Luohao, what do you want to do? You can afford the price of making a commotion in the netherworld. How are you going to face the wrath of the ancient gods of the gods? The gods and demons had just signed the agreement when Luohao broke into the netherworld. Although How-To knew that the so-called paper agreement would be destroyed sooner or later with the reputation of the demons, it was too fast. Tearing up the agreement is like a naked slap in the face, which is an inevitable thing. But just as the gods and demons left, this slap was slapped directly on the faces of the gods and demons. If Luohao himself was not so powerful, and his identity as one of the three demons of the demons, How-To would have beaten him to death. No mistake. However, Luohao's arrival in the netherworld at this time was the limit of How-To's patience. If Luohao took another step forward, How-To will directly summon the power of the gods and use the power of the entire god clan to completely annihilate Luohao. Don't doubt whether How-To has this ability, as How-To is at the junction of gods and demons. How-To herself is worthy of the attention of the god clan, and reincarnation is the top priority of all plans. Only by ensuring that reincarnation is in the hands of their own people can the gods rest assured to descend into the heavenly planes. And there is no need to worry about the embarrassing situation that a group of demons will appear directly behind them after they have just descended on the material plane. In the netherworld, accompanied by the stalemate between How-To and Luohao, the sacred eyes of the heavens converged in the netherworld. Although the true bodies of the heavens could not arrive at this time, the power of the gods from the heavens was ready to go. Just wait for How-To's order, and Luohao will be completely beaten into ashes, so that he will not be able to revive again for 10,000 years. Facing How-To's cold opposition, the gods waited cautiously, and Luohao's mouth corners slightly raised, and a deep and murderous smile appeared on Luohao's face. We just want to be reincarnated. The great How-To, who represents the just death, will not refuse our small request. You want to be reincarnated, Luohao, you are not crazy. Although How-To knew that the demons were all unreasonable lunatics, it was the first time that How-To had seen a demon god like Luohao. The reincarnation channel is not an ordinary road that can be passed through easily. Although the well of gods and demons connects the heavens and the worlds, the reincarnation process from the reincarnation channel can make any living being, even the gods, tremble with fear. The gods are just beyond life and death, and cannot be attracted by the reincarnation channel. But this does not mean that the gods can withstand the torture from the reincarnation channel. The horror of everything disappearing into smoke and everything becoming nothingness. Chapter 137 The Devil Arrives. The reincarnation channel merged with the well of gods and demons has the ability to travel through all realms. Starting from the reincarnation channel, you can reach any world in the heavens and all realms in the shortest time. Of course, the premise is that you have to bear the torture of forgetting everything and being cut into pieces. If the gods want to descend from the heavens to a plane that has never been reached, they must have a basic descending node in the unknown plane. That is, believers who believe in and worship themselves. The faith of these believers is an uninterrupted summoning information for the gods. The gods can decide when to descend to the plane according to the summoning information of the plane they are in, and carry out their own plan to occupy the material plane. Each material plane is equivalent to a breeding base for producing civilization, and the historical trajectories in these planes can derive small worlds, and the small world can breed lower level gods. In theory, as long as a plane is well managed, it is a superior god with a complete ring alliance. In the netherworld, under the watchful eyes of the gods and how, carrying the souls of thousands of destroyed creatures, stepped into the reincarnation channel step by step. The endless wash of reincarnation was like a sharp spiral blade, tearing and pulling How's divine body madly, destroying it again and again in the reincarnation channel. The ruthless reincarnation does not care whether the existence entering it is an ancient god or an ordinary mortal. It only knows that it is its mission to crush all the souls that enter it and turn them into nothingness. Countless destruction and rebirth climbed above How's will in an instant. Endless pain was like a surging tide, impacting How's reason, wanting to wash away everything of How. As a How who has the memory of a long time and the memory of thousands of dead souls, he is a hard bone to chew for the reincarnation channel. How is one of the 3 demons in the demon world, a peak existence above billions of demon gods, and his will is firm to the point of being indestructible. Even How who is also an ancient god, could not shake How's determination. However, the condition for passing through the reincarnation channel is that the soul is crushed to the point where the reincarnation channel cannot detect it, or all the memories on the soul are forgotten. As long as either of these 2 conditions is met, it is possible to pass through the power of the reincarnation channel and go to any plane of the heavens and the myriad worlds. Memory is the derivative root of obsession. Once the memory is given up, it means that How will lose the value of his existence and eventually become nothingness. So How can only endure the tearing from the reincarnation channel and watch his huge soul. Under the tearing of the reincarnation channel, it turned into fragments bit by bit and scattered in the heavens. Silence permeated the reincarnation. The gods of the heavens watched How gradually disappear in the reincarnation as the reincarnation turned, and a sense of admiration emerged in their hearts. But in the blink of an eye, the gods of the heavens put everything in front of them behind their minds, and continued to work on their own plans of coming. The behavior of others is just a means to motivate themselves, not an excuse to stop action. As time passed, the original souls in the reincarnation began to reincarnate in the heavenly planes. The material planes built by Hao also welcomed their first batch of residents. The vast ocean of souls was like a bright star descending from the sky, and it was thrown into the material plane with a bang, merging with the form of the material plane, and finally transformed into the creatures in the plane world. In a large plane not far from the prehistoric realm, the soul ocean formed by the shattered soul of How rumbled into these planes. Billions of creatures derived from the power of How were reborn in the material plane, and thus descended into a new world. Fight, kill, devour, and reorganize everything of mine in the endless evolution. The Great Will in the Dark issued its initial order in the consciousness of billions of creatures born in the plane world. Immediately, all the creatures in the heavens born in accordance with the will of the demon god were driven by the demon god behind them. Bearing its ferocious fangs at the weak, blood, war, and killing appeared again in the material plane. It still worships chaos, but compared with the ultimate chaos of the void, this chaos in the material plane is the embryo of unknown changes. The way to erode the world is to let one's mind, body, and spirit merge with the material world. In the years of endless battles and killings of creatures, everything about the demon god will slowly merge with the material world, and eventually become an extremely powerful material god body. Inside the plane, the dim sun's rays fell towards the west. This star inside the plane, which was formed by Hao's simulation of the sun, witnessed the birth of a fusion, and swallowing when it was about to end its day's patrol. On the barren land, 2 huge prehistoric beasts stared at each other with eager eyes. No mistake, 1 song, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 look. The ferocious and fierce light in his eyes was like a fierce evil ghost, staring at his opponent closely. At this moment, the 2 beasts had only one thought in their hearts, that is, kill you, and everything you have will be mine. Roar. A roar like a dragon or a tiger sounded above the earth, and the footsteps of the two beasts moved along with the roar. Boom, boom, boom. The heavy footsteps, like the collapse of heaven and earth, trampled on the thick earth, causing waves of earthquakes. At the moment, when the light that illuminated the world was about to end, blood splashed, and the heavy body of the beast fell to the ground. In the silent darkness, the chewing sound of bones breaking sounded above the earth, and the winner devoured everything of the loser. Use the flesh and blood of the loser to strengthen your body, so as to be fully prepared for the next hunt. In this battle, the flesh and blood of the death beast strengthened the body of the winner, so that the winner has the capital to compete with the next enemy again. And its blood flowed into the earth, becoming a resource for the rise of the next batch of strong people. In this cycle of transformation, the will and power of the demon god are gradually eroding everything in this world. From the perspective of the demon god, this plane is being branded with his own mark. Every blade of grass and every tree in this plane will be included in his will and become a part of himself. From the perspective of Lihao, these meteorites, which originally existed in the universe, have been transformed into his own power in his hands. Without wasting a single bit of resources, they are perfectly transformed into his own energy. My flesh and blood merge into the earth, my soul merges into all living beings, my will merges into the sky, and I'm with the world. In the shadow of the plane, the will of the demon god permeates every corner of the world, and merges with the world. Behind the demon god, Lihao's will dominates everything about the demon god. It's like watching a play, watching the demon god dancing in his palm. Thanks to Renhao for the 2000 starting coins reward. Chapter 138, Cage and Shackles. There are only 3 ways for a divine being to cross the vast distance of the universe and descend to the material plane world created by meteorites as the foundation. Will reincarnation, blood gene recombination, and devout belief calling. The first kind of will reincarnation is the one carried out by Luohao, which endures the tearing from reincarnation, and finally descends to the world of the heavens. This way of descending is the most thorough and the most dangerous. If you are not careful, you will easily be annihilated in the world. After all, tearing your soul into countless fragments, and scattering them in thousands of worlds. Then reassembling these thousands of soul fragments carrying memories will take a very long time. But once this way of descending is completed, it means that, as long as the will of the gods is not destroyed, the reorganization of the gods descending to the material plane cannot be stopped. All the creatures that carry the will of the gods will be sacrificed for the gods, to be reborn in the material plane world, at the cost of their own souls and bodies being completely destroyed, as sacrifices for the gods to be reborn. The gods who are finally reborn successfully will also gain the dominance of the entire world. He will be the natural father of civilization, and he will naturally take over all the achievements derived from civilization. The second method is blood gene recombination. As mentioned earlier, the power source of the dragon gods, headed by the dragon clan, comes from their blood. And once the blood gene of a certain creature is matched with the blood gene of the dragon god himself at 95%, the dragon god will be able to naturally appear in the consciousness of the creature, and thus start a battle for the body with it. 95% is a standard, which represents the power of the dragon god in the consciousness of the creature. The closer it is to 100%, the stronger the power of the dragon god in the consciousness of the creature. The way of advent through blood gene recombination is a way of advent developed based on this characteristic of the dragon clan. This way of advent is difficult in the early stage, but once it reaches the later stage, the impact of this way of advent will be all round. Imagine that when the whole world is full of creatures with a blood ratio of 95%. If you want to get rid of the influence of the gods, you can only kill all the creatures in the world to have a glimmer of hope. After all, when all the creatures in the world are the followers of the gods, it means that the whole world itself is part of the body of the gods. The third method is to summon with devout faith. Creatures will always be confused, and the more helpless they are, the stronger this confusion will be. At this time, once there is a high-level existence to provide them with support, the hearts of confused creatures will inevitably turn to the will of the high-level existence, and thus become believers of the high-level existence. When the high-level existence becomes an inseparable part of the believers, the assimilation of the world will begin. When the whole world is under the will of the gods, the assimilation of the world will be completed. This method is rapid in the early stage, but in the process of development, it is easy to be broken by higher level existences, thus losing the faith of the whole world. The three ways of Advent have their own advantages and disadvantages, but there is no doubt that these three ways of Advent are the most effective ways to assimilate the material world. The resources in the material universe are really too abundant, but this abundant material resources are difficult to be fully utilized. Even if time is used to promote the development of science and technology, in the end it is just a porter in the material universe. Most of the research directions of science and technology are about how to use the energy in the universe more efficiently, so as to provide blood supply for civilization itself. But this is for the creatures in civilization itself, because this civilization is the home of the creatures. For Lihao, the so-called civilization is just a tool. Tools are used when they are useful, and destroyed without hesitation when they are not useful. And the gods are the executioners who breed civilization and destroy civilization. Through the way of god particles circling, the dead stars in the universe that cannot breed creatures are transformed at the most preliminary level, turning them into pseudo-life planets that can adapt to the existence of creatures. However, the soul is given to this planet, and finally the gods assimilate the entire planet step by step through the way of descending. Turn the planet into the material body of the gods, and then become a weapon for expansion in Lihao's hands. If the gods want to become stronger, they must assimilate the material planets, and assimilating the material planets must derive civilization. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619. Once the gods derive civilization, it is the time for all living beings under Lihao's control to reincarnate. Through the dual influence of gods and reincarnated beings, gods and beings are firmly restricted under Lihao's control. As more material planets are assimilated, the more gene variants Lihao has, the less transformation of material planets. When Lihao has a gene sequence that can survive on an extreme star such as a white dwarf, Lihao can directly give the foundation for the birth of living beings, the soul. Instead of going to great lengths to transform the white dwarf into an environment that adapts to the survival of the creatures in the gene bank in his hand. As for Lihao did not directly put souls on extreme stars, so that the white dwarf would automatically derive native creatures. This is because allowing the white dwarf to automatically derive life, this change that is out of Lihao's gene bank sequence will have a major impact on Lihao. A living individual that has no connection with itself and is derived will have a great chance of jumping out of Lihao's control. After all, up to now, Lihao has not grasped the reason for the birth of the will of living beings. Although the soul of the living being was given by Lihao, it is like a child. You gave it life, but it does not mean that it can completely obey you. Rebellious consciousness, even various external interferences such as free thought, will easily distort the child's thinking mode. There may even be such a shitty thing as killing fathers and mothers to prove the truth. Only by completely controlling the foundation on which it depends for survival, coupled with appropriate guidance, can it be regarded as a complete control of everything about a living being. Throughout the long river of history, there are very few living beings who can go against the influence of the higher consciousness and betray the cornerstone of their own existence. It can even be said that there are none. When what you want to see is what others let you see. When everything you have is carefully prepared for you by others. When everything you have exists in a cage compiled by others for you. If you want to resist, you only have two ways: suicide and going against your own will, and thus throwing yourself into the hands of another controller. Apart from this, you have no choice. Chapter 139 Plane Arrival. On the vast land, thousands of beasts fight in the wilderness. All living creatures in the world, under the control of a certain will, evolve towards a stronger direction. Behind the fights of thousands of beasts, countless gods and demons are eagerly waiting for the call from the unknown plane. God-level beings cannot directly descend into an unfamiliar plane. They need all the spirits to lay a foundation in it. Then they will follow this foundation node and advance their occupation quota in the plane step by step until they finally dominate the entire plane. In the heavens, countless ring alliances, under the leadership of the upper gods, summoned legions of soldiers, and gathered a magnificent momentum. With the help of the call from the creatures of the plane, they descended into the plane and launched their own legion offensive. In the central sky, within the alliance of upper gods led by Aoling and occupying the center, countless world phantoms are stacked together to form a dragon court hall similar to the supreme god court. Aoling sat in the center of the dragon court hall, looking down at the existence of many upper gods. In the ruling sequence of the heavens, ancient gods like Aoling are at the highest level of the ruling sequence of the heavens. In the years when the three emperors disappeared, the ancient gods were the leaders of the heavens. And among the many ancient gods, Aoling is still at the strongest level. In addition, Aoling occupies the heavens and commands the gods with the supreme command of the gods, so Aoling can summon 3/5 of the gods to gather under his command in a short period of time. As for the remaining 2/5 of the gods' alliance, they nominally submit to the rule of Aoling, but behind the scenes they obey Aoling's orders in public. Aoling sat on the throne of the Dragon Court, observing the gods existing in the Dragon Court, and secretly said in his heart, "Now it seems that due to the connection of blood, the Dragon clan is undoubtedly on my side. The Phoenix clan, which belongs to the old forces, and the Killen clan led by SUI, are outside my rule. They don't obey my orders in the heavens. Once the planes begin to descend, these gods will definitely raise the banner of rebellion and break away from the heavens and become independent. I still have to prepare early. The rule of the Dragon clan cannot be lost." Thinking of this, Aoling said to the 4 ancient gods of the seas in the Dragon Court, as well as many upper dragon gods, Ao Guang, Ao Kin, Ao Shun, Ao Run, "The 4 of you lead the ocean dragon gods. From the direction of the 4 seas, explore the plains of the heavens, and be sure to mark the specific locations of the plains. Be fully prepared for the grand arrival of my dragon clan." The 4 ancient gods, who were sitting next to Aoling, stood up immediately and said to Aoling, "We will do our best to help the dragon race grow stronger, and do our best to be filial to them." Immediately, 4 rays of ancient godlight that shook the heavens went down to the lower world, accompanied by many ocean dragon gods. The descent of many gods caused a great uproar in the prehistoric world. The power in the blood of the gods aroused the changes of heaven and earth, and dominated the changes of the 4 seasons. For a while, countless ice and snowstorms appeared all over the world, causing a devastating blow to the prehistoric spirits. Fortunately, the purpose of the gods' descent was not to punish all living beings. After the gods returned to the ocean, the power derived from the power of the gods was gradually withdrawn into the body, and the world returned to peaceful times again. However, the peace on the land does not mean the peace on the ocean. As the birthplace of the dragon race, the ocean gave birth to countless gods and the existence of many ancient gods. It can almost be called a land favored by heaven. Perhaps the orders of the dragon clan on land and in the sky will be resisted, but in the ocean, the will of the dragon clan is supreme. With the advent of the 4 seas ancient gods and the ocean dragon god, many sub-dragons followed the orders of the dragon god and headed towards the edge of the 4 seas. Passing through the long ocean area and overcoming the obstruction of the prehistoric crystal wall, they arrived at the heavenly planes by shuttling through the material level. Under the connection of the god particle, the heavenly planes in the original star system eliminated the barrier of cosmic distance and thus connected together in the way of ocean to ocean. Generally speaking, any creature that can withstand the obstruction of the ocean storm can directly reach any plane from the ocean. Looking at the lower world of the 4 seas ancient gods, Aoling once again ordered the many upper dragon gods in the Dragon Court Hall, "You all obey the guidance from your bloodline, and descend to the heavenly planes. At the fastest speed, transform the entire world into the private land of the Dragon Clan. Finally, in the form of joint operations, completely kill the minions of the non-Dragon Clan gods in the other planes, and send their interference back to the heavens. We obey your orders." Under Aoling's command, many upper dragon gods obeyed Aoling's orders in unison. Not long after, in the Dragon Court Hall, a group of dragon gods retreated. Aoling was left alone sitting on the Dragon Court throne, looking into the distance. "Although I cannot completely destroy you, because of the existence of the heavens, but I can limit the extension range of your power and bind you to the heavens. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1 6, 1 9, one book, one bar, one look. When the gods were first established, many gods placed their roots in the heavens, and with the help of the power of the heavens, they achieved their own immortality. This also led to the fact that these rebellious gods, who were not concerned about Aeoling, had no worries, and could freely oppose Aeoling. Anyway, they would not die, so they would do whatever they wanted. This battle for the development of the planes for the gods was a battle for survival for the creatures in the planes. Survival of the fittest is the rule of nature. After the gods mastered the power of power, it can also be said to be the choice of the gods. The world occupied by the dragon god is a world dominated by blood. The world occupied by the phoenix god clan is a world dominated by soul worship. The world occupied by the killing god clan is a world dominated by strong will. But before that, any world was a world where the strong were respected. If everything wants to become stronger, there are only two ways to choose. Follow the guidance of blood and forge a strong magical power. Worship the unknown sacredness, ignite the soul fire, and move closer to the unknown gods and spirits. Both paths are shortcuts to becoming stronger, but they are also choices to give up one's own future. After Lee Heo decided to speed up the derivation of souls, it was destined that there would be a lot of deaths and wars. The great power from the upper existence provides a shortcut for the lower creatures to become stronger, and then these rapidly growing creatures, as the foundation of the plane conquest, thus forging the strongest throne of each force. In this process, every death of all living beings is an opportunity for harvest. The birth of consciousness only requires a little soul to promote it, and the powerful souls that grow up with rich experience are all pure profit gains. Thanks to Zyanatang 246 for the 200 starting coins. Chapter 140 Perfect Creature. While the gods are waiting to descend on the planes, and thus greatly enhance their own strength, the spirits and creatures existing in the plane world are struggling with the world under the drive of survival. The powerful wild beasts are honing their bodies, and strengthening their bloodlines in the hope of reaching a stronger state. The weak wild beasts are praying devoutly to various strange beings, hoping to be saved by the higher beings. In the midst of survival and destruction, all living beings are struggling hard. Living beings come to the world not to enjoy happiness, but to hone themselves. Only by withstanding the hammer of the world's furnace can a strong will be forged, thus transcending reincarnation, and being above all living beings. A plane located near the wild realm. This is a plane where 80% of the area is covered by forests. In this plane, there are countless huge trees that reach the sky and the earth, and above these trees, there are countless wild beasts. Trees and wild beasts are like symbiosis, relying on each other for survival. The trees use the fighting power of the wild beasts to stop the attack of the enemy trees, and then extended their branches into the territory of other trees. The wild beasts use the vast spiritual energy emitted by the trees after they grew stronger to hone their bodies and become more powerful. As the sun rose to the highest end of the plane world, the spiritual energy emitted by the sun was like an alarm clock, awakening the sleeping trees and making them active from silence. For a moment, the branches and leaves on countless trees began to stretch wildly, accepting the sunlight from the sun. In the process of extending the branches and leaves, each tree will inevitably block the sunlight range of other trees. From this, the contradiction broke out, and the fight began. A large number of vines and branches turned into twisted tentacles and extended to the territory of other trees. Between the interweaving, they formed a sky channel throughout the forest. Countless wild beasts shuttled through these sky channels interwoven by the branches of the trees and fought with the wild beasts from the enemy tree territory. In the process of this fight, the vine attacks from the trees have not stopped. A large number of vines are looking for flaws in the enemy tree's territory, so that they can reach the trunk of the enemy tree in one blow and stick to the trunk of the enemy tree. Then, these vines that touch the tree body will grow countless fang-like spikes. They pierce into the trunk of the tree fiercely, plundering the nutrients in the trunk frantically, thereby strengthening their own body. In this process of mutual plunder, the wild beasts that coexist with the trees act as tree guardians. They are responsible for killing the attacks from the vines of the enemy trees and escorting the vines of their own trees to the trunk of the enemy trees. In this crazy process of killing and being killed, plundering and being plundered, the blood of countless wild beasts who died in battle flows on the vine branches interwoven by the trees, nourishing the growth of the trees. Whenever a wild beast dies in battle, Countless sharp fangs will suddenly emerge from the vine branches of the trees. After sucking the body of the wild beast clean, the blood from the wild beast will blend and evolve with the trees. Countless cycles of death have continuously raised the blood level of the entire world, gradually approaching the blood of a certain dragon god in the heaven. In the Kangmu Dragon Temple, the Kangmu Dragon God sitting on the throne felt that the call from the unknown was getting stronger and stronger, and said excitedly, "Fight, fight, and welcome my arrival in the endless battle." The Kangmu Dragon God is an upper level god. Under the Kangmu Ring Alliance led by him, there are 10 middle level gods and nearly 100 lower level gods. These gods are all high level dragons in the same dragon system as the Kangmu Dragon God. They are also important pillars supporting the Kangmu Dragon God's pseudo-god realm. As the Kangmu Dragon God sensed that the call from the unknown plane became stronger and stronger, the entire Kangmu Ring Alliance officially took action. Nearly 1 million conscripts were on standby, and hundreds of powerful gods were waiting in the Alliance Temple, waiting for the Kangmu Dragon God to completely descend into the unknown plane. For the gods of the heavens, the benefits of an unknown plane can make them crazy. If the development of the plane world was only about pure material resources and soul resources, it would not have caused them to fall into such a state. After all, in the vast Takesu, there are a large number of small worlds, and these small worlds will provide sufficient benefits for the gods of the heavens. The benefits of a new plane are more about the existence of independent civilizations. For the gods of the heavens, only by having an independent civilization that belongs entirely to them can they have the ability to be independent. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. Look. In the past, the gods of the heavens were restricted by the racial restrictions within the Hangheung Star and could only invest their chips in 3 camps at most. They were just a yes man who obeyed the orders of the superior existence. Now the appearance of the unknown plane means that the gods in the heavens can set their own rules and compete with the old camps. In addition to the 3 camps of dragon, phoenix and unicorn, another camp is open to become a sub-civilization. All of this can be summarized in one sentence. That is, the child has grown up and has different ideas. Kangmu Realm. This is the name given by Kangmu Dragon God to the world he is about to descend. He named it after his own god and declared his right to possess it. At this time, in Kangmu Realm, after countless fights and battles, located in the center of Kangmu Realm, a huge tree that occupies 1/10,000th of the entire world is waving its vines and branches between heaven and earth. As if provoking something, the strong fighting spirit permeates between heaven and earth. As the creatures in Kangmu Realm become stronger and stronger, the great will from the dark becomes more obvious. The relationship between Kangmu Dragon God and the creatures in Kangmu Realm is like 2 magnets, which are getting closer and closer as time goes by. After countless battles, the purity of the blood in the central tree is now infinitely close to 95%. Once the purity of the blood reaches or exceeds 95%, the will of the Kangmu Dragon God will appear in the consciousness of the central tree and compete with it for the right to control the body. 95% represents a contest of wills under the same level of power, and as the purity of the blood continues to increase, the gap between the 2 sides becomes more obvious. As the source of the blood, the Kangmu Dragon God will become stronger and stronger as the purity of the blood increases to 100%. In the end, the body of the central tree will be completely transformed into its own body. From this fusion process, the symbol of the dragon clan is gradually growing in the direction of a concept, and this concept is perfection. The existence of the dragon god is the incarnation of all living beings in the world, and the body of the dragon god is composed of all things in the world. In the process of this plane development, the dragon clan will get rid of the limitations of the body and show itself to all living beings in a conceptually perfect form. What is conceptual perfection? That is what you think is perfect, then what form the dragon god will present. Thanks to Xianatang 246 for the reward of 100 Kidian coins. Chapter 141 Heavenly Blood Sacrifice. Perfect creatures are creatures that creatures can determine at a glance that this is the creature they are evolving towards. As the dragon god occupies the entire plane world, the form that the dragon god presents to all living beings is the most perfect form in their consciousness. This perfection will change with the cognition of all living beings, and will always be in the most perfect form. You cannot find his flaws, and what you see is the most perfect in your consciousness. In the Kangmu realm, the central tree waved its vines and branches towards the sky. It tried to challenge everything that the Kangmu dragon god had, and wanted to exclude the influence of the Kangmu dragon god, so as to gain independent will. In all the plane worlds constructed by Lihao, the evolution of all living beings is evolving towards the form of the gods, and this way of evolution is bound to lead to the full-scale interference of the gods' will. To get rid of the gods and exist independently, it is only when the purity of the blood reaches 95%. Try your best to defeat the will of the gods, so as to gain the right to dominate and exclude the interference of the gods from your consciousness. Once it exceeds 95%, the gods will win in all aspects. If the purity is lower than 95%, the living beings will not be able to touch the realm of the gods, and similarly, they will not be able to escape the repetition of reincarnation. As the purity of the blood in the central tree gradually climbed to the level of 95%, the will of the Kangmu dragon god officially descended from the distant heaven to the consciousness of the central tree. With the help of all the energy in the consciousness of the central tree, he then built his own consciousness body. After reaching the level of 95%, the Kangmu dragon god will obtain the same consciousness authority as the central tree. In the turbulent ocean of consciousness, the will of the central tree took root in the ocean of consciousness, absorbing the energy from the soul, and constantly testing the perfect existence in front of him. The vines, as fast as thunder, whipped around the perfect existence on the opposite side, wanting to use the existing power to crush the existence on the opposite side, thereby interrupting the interference of the perfect existence with his own consciousness. However, facing the attack of the central tree, the Kangmu dragon god easily repelled all the attacks of the central tree. In the ocean of consciousness, the Kangmu dragon god slowly said, while sending down the attack of the central tree, "Everything about you is imitating me. It is a bit unrealistic for you to defeat me. As a reward for you summoning me to descend to this plane, I allow you to surrender to me, and I will give you a chance to ascend to the lower throne." The Kangmu dragon god patiently persuaded the central tree. He felt very good about the central tree. After all, this was the first plane he descended to. No matter what attitude he had, it was necessary to express his kindness and generosity. After all, the central tree was the guide for his descent to the material plane, and his attitude towards it would be a reflection of his attitude in the rest of the planes in the future. But obviously, as a model of a newborn calf not afraid of a tiger, the central tree unconsciously gave up the gift of the Kangmu dragon god, and chose to fight the Kangmu dragon god to the end. And in order to increase his chances of defeating the Kangmu dragon god, he also frantically purified the blood power in his body. All these actions angered the Kangmu dragon god. Those who hold power have the right to do whatever they want, but they usually show a peaceful attitude for various purposes. But this does not mean that they will not be angry. My reward to you is a gift, and if you do not accept this gift, it means you are not giving me face. Since you do not give me face, then I must let you know what the consequences of violating my will are. In an instant, this simple logic appeared in the consciousness of the Kangmu dragon god, and dominated his actions. As the source of the blood of the central tree, the Kangmu dragon god is much more familiar with the blood than the central tree is with its own blood. After all, this is the blood evolved from the Kangmu dragon god. 95% of the time, the difference between blood is enough for creatures to gain the power to challenge the gods, and the source of this power comes from the gods' unfamiliarity with the difference between blood. But with the continuous optimization of the purity of blood, everything will return to the familiar range of the gods. As for what you said, the central tree can change its evolutionary direction and evolve in another direction. The difficulty is like a high-speed train. If you want to stop or turn, the final result is only the destruction of the train and the death of people. Time has given you the power to challenge me, ignorance has given you the courage to challenge, and blindness has made you think that you have an equal status with me. I have to admit that this is a good way to make you think you are stronger. No mistakes. One sentence, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. But what I want to say is that this is far from enough. Everything about you is under my observation. Your experience is exactly the path I have walked. I have more say than you about this road. As the central tree blindly improves the purity of its blood, the authority of the Kangmu dragon god in the consciousness of the central tree becomes greater. Purifying blood can indeed increase strength, but this kind of increased power belongs to its original owner. When the purity of blood exceeds 95%, crushing officially appears. When the strength is equal, only the experience of each other is relied on, and when the strength exceeds, no skill can be as fast as crushing. Exceeding 95% means tilting your advantage towards the other party. The perfect figure of the great man became bigger and bigger in the ocean of consciousness of the central tree, like a giant. The more fearful he was, the more he desired power. The more he desired power, the more his blood purity would continue to improve. The more he continued to improve, the weaker he became. A dead loop-like trajectory took shape in the consciousness of the central tree. Looking at the gradually shrinking central tree, the divine voice of the Kangmu dragon god echoed in the ocean of consciousness. Why do you think you can stand at the same height as me? Everything about you is repeating the path I have taken before, and all your changes are under my control. The reason why you stand on an equal footing with me is that you rely on the only difference of 5%. The 5% that you think is impurities is the qualification that enables you to challenge me. And now, you have given up that 5%. You have given up your alliance. Why do you still stand on the same level with me? Ignorance makes you arrogant. Blindness makes you lose sight of the direction. Weak and humble creatures are only worthy of existing in endless reincarnation. Because only reincarnation can give you a slight possibility of moving forward. Chapter 142 Heavenly Blood Sacrifice. The endless divine light was like the descending sun, crushing the will of the central tree. The huge gap in strength between the two sides left the central tree with almost no room for resistance. In just a moment, the long-honed will of the central tree was like fragile glass and was completely defeated by the Kangmu dragon god, so that everything belonged to the Kangmu dragon god. As the Kangmu dragon god defeated the will of the central tree, he completely entered the ocean of consciousness of the central tree. The purity of the blood in the body of the central tree quickly climbed to 100%, and as the purity of this blood rose, the concept of the Kangmu dragon god in the Kangmu world became stronger and stronger. However, after a while, the Kangmu dragon god accepted the legacy of the central tree, the 5% difference. The strength of the dragon clan is inseparable from their constant competition with all things in the world. Since the formation of the Dragon Clan has been accompanied by endless wars and fights, and many of the Dragon Clan's high-level bloodlines are also forged in endless battles and fights. Using oneself as a furnace, refining all things in the world for one's own use. This is an ancient ritual belonging to the Dragon Clan, called the Heaven Blood Sacrifice. Under the witness of the ancient heaven, thousands of dragons competed and fought. The loser became the food of the winner, and the winner absorbed everything from the loser. Under the sky, dragons and snakes rose from the land. The winner was the real dragon, and the loser was the bandit. Under the real dragon, the dragon and python surrendered. Those who changed lived, and those who did not change died. As the Kangmu dragon god completely absorbed all the heritage of the central tree, the degree of change of the Kangmu dragon god's bloodline was once again improved to a higher level. For all beings under the Kangmu dragon god, the Kangmu dragon god is a perfect creature, a supreme existence without any defects. But only the gods who have reached the same level as the Kangmu dragon god, and the Kangmu dragon god himself, know that this is far from the most perfect creature. In the eyes of the Dragon Clan, perfection is always within reach, but out of reach. Only by continuous progress can we get infinitely close to perfection. When the blood purity reached 100%, this body that once belonged to the central tree completely turned into the body of the Kangmu dragon god. In the Kangmu realm, on the continent in the central area, a giant tree that reached the sky seemed to connect the gap between heaven and earth, covering a large area of sky and earth. As the Kangmu dragon god descended from consciousness to the Kangmu realm, the power of the gods appeared in the Kangmu realm. The heaven and earth trembled under the power of the gods. The clouds in the sky changed unpredictably, the mountains and rivers on the earth were in turmoil, and the concept interference from the gods permeated between heaven and earth. Under the gaze of the Kangmu dragon god, the whole world was rapidly eroded by the power of the Kangmu dragon god. The blood level of all living beings in the world was rapidly rising to the standard of 95%. In less than 3 days, the whole world, without the obstruction of the same level, almost turned into the Kangmu dragon god's divine kingdom in the material plane. The blood of the gods flowed in all living beings, and the will of the gods existed in the depths of the consciousness of all living beings. The body is combined with the earth, and the body is the master of the earth. The spirit is combined with all living beings, and the spirit becomes the father of all living beings. The will is combined with the sky, and my will is the will of the world. The will of the gods becomes the eyes of heaven, looking down on all living beings in the world from the clouds and the sky. Under the gaze of the Kangmu dragon god, everything in the whole world is taking itself as the source, and then constantly evolving and climbing upward. Dividing line outside the world, the will of the sky in the universe wanders outside the world, observing the degree of integration of all living beings and gods in the plane world. This time, the plane god's plan was proposed by Huangshan, and implemented by Kangshan to transform the state of the original star system in the future. As time goes by, one day, they will control all existences in the entire star system. At that time, a crucial issue must be considered. That is how to move the entire star system, and then make the star system like a giant beast rampant in the universe. Take all the stars in the entire universe as food, so as to build its own strength. Although it is safe to stick to one position, it is easy to lose the enterprising spirit, which leads to arrogance. And this kind of local snake who only dominates one area is very likely to be fatally hit by unknown existence from the depths of the universe. Weakness is the original sin, and stagnation is the root of the original sin. In order to avoid unexpected encounters, Huangshan proposed to use the gods as the controlling will of each plane, so as to form a consciousness connection network, to move the existence of the entire star system. This consciousness connection network is to use the excess power of the gods as the engine, to move the entire star system, so as to achieve the goal of wandering the star system. Expand the perspective. Take the entire star system as Li Hao's body, take the ether and void as Li Hao's soul, and take the 5-day consciousness and the original will as Li Hao's will, so as to create a powerful sacred existence. In the body of this sacred existence, every material plane is his cell. No mistake. One post, one content, one book, one forum, one book, one forum. Every existence of a god is his thought. Thoughts are combined with the material plane to form the source of thinking of the 5 heavens consciousness. Ultimately, everything will be gathered in the hands of the original will, the executor who moves the entire star system. However, according to this example, it will be extended downwards and eventually extended to every living being. In this extension process, 3 link networks will be formed, and 3 link chains will exist. From the highest 5 heavens link network, the God link network, to the bottom of the living beings link network. In these 3 link networks, the plane world, the living beings' bodies, and microscopic cells will be a chain of materials that are passed down from generation to generation. The source of this material chain is the sky and the Huangji Jingxi book in his hand, which is also the body of fate. The great void, the ocean of the soul, and the cell consciousness will be a chain of souls that are passed down from generation to generation. The source of this soul chain is Kaishan and the newly forged book of all things in his hand, which is also the synonym of the great library. The original will, the will of the gods, and the will of the living beings will be a chain of goals that are passed down from generation to generation. The source of this target chain is Huangshan and the future goals set by Huangshan, and it is also the hope and the darkness. 3 link chains and 3 link networks together form a perfect link from the past to the future, from the macro to the micro. Any existence in this state, their every move, every thought, is preparing for Li Hao. On the periphery of the deep world, Kangshan's eyes are fixed on the gods who are constantly descending from the plane worlds. Looking at the various resources that are finally produced by their fusion with the plane world, a smile appeared at the corner of Kangshan's mouth. What a perfect world structure, a world structure that is full of vitality, but will not produce any turbulence. I'm so lucky to be able to execute and build this structure. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, Trinity Form. Boom. 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 Countless ferocious and jumping thunders spread across the sky of the entire Kangmu realm. Within the dark clouds, there are energy gathering points of all sizes. These energy gathering points are the alliance forces of the Kangmu dragon god in the heavens. As the Kangmu dragon god who has turned the entire Kangmu realm into his base camp, he now has the amazing power to dominate the entire world. Use the power of the world's power to gather the material energy between heaven and earth. Imitate the blood of the gods' bodies to build a body that is subordinate to the will of the gods as a node for them to descend on the material plane. This is the obligation of the Kangmu dragon god, and it is also the responsibility of the Kangmu dragon god. It is also what he should do as the leader of the alliance of gods. In the heavens, the upper gods are the well-deserved ruling class of gods. Each upper god is the leader of a ring alliance. They are the top existences under the ancient gods. In the process of plane development, relying solely on the power of the lower gods is not enough to develop an entire material plane to the most perfect state. In the heavens, there is a saying that a material plane is the foundation of a higher god. In other words, only higher gods have the ability to fully develop a plane. Gods are the threshold to colonize planes, and higher gods are the main force to colonize planes. Control the power of the entire world, gather the energy of heaven and earth, condense the bodies of gods, connect the god souls, guide the will of gods, and stand on the other side of the sky. In the Takes a Heavenly Realm, the Kangmu dragon god uses the plane coordinates of the Kangmu realm to search for the 1,000 worlds belonging to the Kangmu realm in the Takes space-time. In the original star system, each material plane has 1,000 worlds belonging to them. The presentation of this state is a correction made by Lee Heo in order to maximize the value of each material plane. From matter to soul, from life to death, every moment, every state has its own value. In Lee Heo's eyes, the value of anything is precious. The only difference is whether it will be used. The abilities of the upper gods are already very powerful. Generally speaking, as long as they are given enough time, they can search the entire universe and find the thousands of worlds hidden in the universe. However, this time will be so long that it will make the gods despair. By mastering the coordinates of the material plane in advance, the thousands of worlds belonging to the material plane can be found at the fastest speed in the vast and empty universe. With the help of the historical information sensed by the plane coordinates, the Yuanshan of Kangmu dragon god quickly swept across the entire universe like a radar, thus locking the thousands of worlds existing in the universe. The universe and the void are a special space-time environment that exists by relying on the material world. The area covered by this space-time continues to expand as Lee Heo's tentacles extend. At first, the void only existed on the Hongheong star, but now as Lee Heo's tentacles extend to the entire star system, the coverage area of this special space-time also spreads throughout the entire star system, forming a trinity structure similar to the closure of heaven and earth. The gods live in the void, condense the material body, and descend into the plane world, constructing their own trinity structure. In the vast void, time and space, the will of the Kangmu dragon god travels in the void, constantly moving towards a fixed goal. As time goes by, the will of the Kangmu dragon god gradually approaches a 1,000-world community that repeats itself. This 1,000-world community is the trajectory world condensed by the history of the Kangmu realm over the years. In this 1,000-world community, the Kangmu dragon god can observe the origin of the Kangmu realm and the present of the Kangmu realm, so as to understand all the changes that have taken place in the entire Kangmu realm. And he can also deduce the future of the Kangmu realm, based on his understanding and control of the Kangmu realm. For the gods, controlling the 1,000-world community is to control the past of a world. Controlling the material plane is to control the present of a world. Controlling the life and death of living beings is to control the future of a world. The internal space of the Takes 1,000-world community, with the will of the Kangmu dragon god, covers all the scope of the entire world community. The past, present, and future of this world all fall under the control of the Kangmu dragon god, and all living beings are in the hands of the gods. The soul resides in the past, the body controls the present, and the will determines the future. This is the trinity of the gods controlling the plane world. It is also the trinity of Lihao controlling the entire original star system. Whatever the gods can do to all living beings, Lihao can do to the gods. Now, as the Kangmu dragon god has brought the entire plane world under his control. No mistakes, one post, one content, 1/6, 1/9, one book, one bar, one look. The soul of the Kangmu dragon god began to observe the past of the plane world. The power of the Kangmu dragon god began to control the present of the plane world. The will of the Kangmu dragon god began to determine the future of the plane world. I said, the god realm is built on the sky, and the gods live in the god realm. Countless material energies began to gather in the sky, thus condensing into a god realm, time and space containing vast power. The gods and armies under the command of the Kangmu dragon god, which exist in the Taxa heaven realm, officially entered the god realm. In the Kangmu god realm, many temples were built, and temples that matched the attributes of the gods existed in the temples. The core of conscripts under the gods patrolled around the temples, acting as the guards of the temples. I say, the underworld stands under the earth, and all the dead souls return to the underworld. The land of the Kangmu realm began to connect with the netherworld, and the power of the netherworld gathered and formed under the land of the Kangmu realm. An extremely huge attraction came from under the earth, and any dead soul that lost the protection of its physical body was drawn into the underworld. With the help of the netherworld power in the underworld, the dead ghosts were recondensed, waiting for the erosion of the power of the underworld to be completed, and finally went to the netherworld for reincarnation. I say, the human world exists on the earth, and all living souls return to the human world. Auras flew out from the heads of all the souls in the human world, and fell into the control of the Kangmu dragon god. As the Kangmu dragon god spoke one word after another, the entire plane world underwent earth-shaking changes. The god realm was established, and the gods moved in. The underworld was established, and the dead were silent. The human world was established, and the living beings were stable. The construction of the Trinity was completed, and the power of the Kangmu dragon god was pushed to the peak level of the upper gods. Next, as long as the Kangmu dragon god can hedge and merge the positive and negative energies, he can directly be promoted to the ancient god, thereby imprinting his own concepts in time and space, and then enjoying the power of immortality. Thanks to Xianatang 246 for the 100 starting coins. Chapter 144. Actively prepare for war. In the Kangmu realm, the towering trees connect the three realms of heaven, earth and man. Thus, the power of the entire Kangmu realm is mobilized to form the power foundation of the Kangmu dragon god. Ordinary things are mainly based on self-cultivation, while gods are mainly based on world cultivation. The gap between the two is like that between workers and capitalists. Their speed of becoming powerful is completely different. The huge resources absorbed and used by gods at all times can forcibly pile up a bunch of peak powerhouses below the gods. If the Kangmu realm is compared to a whole, then the Kangmu dragon god is the brain of the Kangmu realm. The gods belonging to the Kangmu dragon god are the organs and tissues of the Kangmu realm. Those ordinary things that exist in the human world are equivalent to cells. The number of cells that die and are reborn in the human body every moment is equivalent to the number of strong people that the Kangmu dragon god can create every moment. Under this huge gap, it is not an exaggeration to say that all those below the gods are ants. In the Kangmu god realm, all the gods gather together, and the glory of the gods spreads throughout the god realm. All spaces in the god realm are covered within the scope of the will of the gods, leaving no loopholes. Not only that, the conscripted soldiers belonging to the gods also patrol every corner of the god realm faithfully. Just like the heavenly soldiers and generals in the mythology of the earth, they guard the various important roads in the god realm and maintain the order and rules of the god realm. In the center of the Kangmu god realm, a tree that reaches the god realm directly from the human world is located in the god realm, supporting the thrones of the gods. The temple of the Kangmu dragon god is based on the main trunk, spreading the glory of the upper gods to all things in the world. And around the Kangmu dragon god, the temples of the gods stationed by the gods surround the outside of the Kangmu dragon god's temple. Just like the organizational form of the Ring Alliance in the heaven, it is well organized. Facing the gaze of the gods, Kangmu Dragon God calmly said, "Now we have entered the plane world and developed it into our foundation. From now on, this world will be our common property, so I hope that all the gods will take good care of this world, so as to avoid bad things from happening. I will obey the oracle of the Lord of Gods." The gods replied to Kangmu Dragon God in unison. In the heavens, the relationship between the gods is equal. As great beings that are above mortals, the gods generally do not conflict with the existence of the same gods unless necessary. After all, with the guarantee of the heavens, the gods today are almost immortal. Even the powerful gods can only suppress the weak gods at most, but cannot completely eliminate them. In the long years, it is unwise to cause an unnecessary trouble. Of course, this does not mean that the powerful gods really have no way to deal with those weak gods. If the upper gods are forced into a corner, there will be all kinds of cruel means for the gods. It will definitely let those weak gods who challenge the majesty of powerful gods know what the means of the strong are. Sitting on the throne of the temple, the halo of the gods behind him slowly rotates, and the scene of the plane world is looming behind him, interpreting the various states of life and reflecting the changes in the universe. Everyone, we don't have enough time. Soon, our old rival, the Phoenix Proteus, will once again start a tragic war of gods with us. In this war, the winner will have everything of the loser, and the loser will never be able to turn over. So for the future of the Dragon Clan, please do your best to develop our world. Make it a powerful war fortress, so as to add a chip to the future of the Dragon Clan. Our Dragon Clan has risen from humble beginnings, and has experienced countless wars since its development. We have never been afraid of any existence, nor have we ever been afraid of any challenge. In this war, the Dragon Clan will surely win the final victory. Kangmu Dragon God raised his hand slightly, as if venting something, and a roar echoed in the world. The Dragon Clan will win. The Dragon Clan will win. The Dragon Clan will win. No mistake. One poem, one post, one content, one book, one bar, 1-6, one book, one bar. Roars came from the mouths of the gods, and dragon roars sounded in the world. The power of the Dragon Clan was unreservedly displayed in front of the creatures of the Kangmu realm. The pride of the Dragon Clan was like a dose of cardio tonic, activating the dragon blood power in the bodies of the creatures of the Kangmu realm. Under the intervention of the Dragon God, the strength level of the entire Kangmu realm was rapidly increasing like a rocket. Under the guidance of the gods, the peak strongmen below the gods grew up quickly. When the road ahead was opened, and all resources were in sufficient supply, the strongmen below the gods were created in batches like industrial products produced by factories. All the creatures in the Kangmu realm only needed to continuously develop the blood power in their bodies, to continuously improve their own strength. After the blood of the creatures in the whole world reached 95% of the blood purity, most of the methods of stimulating potential of the Dragon Clan could quickly improve the strength of these creatures, so that they could be of some use when the war came. Although the combat experience of the strong men who were instilled in such a large number was very weak, it was not a problem for the Dragon Clan. As long as they were sent to the battlefield, those who survived must be elites, and those who died would naturally be waste. In the entire universe, there was definitely more than one situation similar to the Kangmu realm. The conflict between the Dragon God Clan and the Phoenix God Clan had a long history, starting from the conflict between the Golden Pen Clan and the Dragon Clan. The Phoenix Clan, which had undergone a sharp transformation with the power of the Golden Pen, had formed an inseparable fate with the Dragon Clan. The tyranny of the Dragon Clan would not allow any other races beyond the control of the Dragon Clan to exist in this world. Since the rise of the Dragon Clan, countless races have been destroyed by the Dragon Clan, and countless powerful races have died under the attack of the Dragon Clan, becoming the food for the Dragon Clan to become stronger. However, as a separate race from the Dragon Clan, and surviving on the will of the Golden Pen, the Phoenix Clan was in an awkward situation. On the one hand, the Phoenix Clan did not like the extreme atmosphere within the Dragon Clan where the strong survived, and the weak died. On the other hand, the hatred from the depths of the soul also dominated the direction of the Phoenix Clan's actions. Under these two conditions, the hostility between the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan is almost inevitable. Therefore, the two clans can only have a decisive battle to decide the winner. In the past, with the suppression of the three emperors, the two clans could still exist with each other as strangers. But now that the suppression of the three emperors has been lost, the self-centered nature of the Dragon Clan can no longer tolerate the existence of the Phoenix Clan. A self-righteous bastard and a barbaric and bloodthirsty bastard. This is the contemptuous name that the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan call each other. Thanks to Cyanatang 246D and Cheyenne D. Deoxin for the 100 starting coins reward. Chapter 145 will be available tomorrow. Friends who read this book, please support it. Writing a book is not easy, and the author has to eat. As of today, this book has 5243 collections. The requirements are not high, just hope to have more than 200 average orders. Chapter 146 Actively Prepare for War Part 2. In the endless starry sky, from Liheo's perspective, and from the perspective of the gods, they are two completely different worlds. In Liheo's view, the entire original star system is full of large and small meteorite-like worlds, which are wrapped in crystal wall layers, and exist in the universe. Under the connection of God particles, large and small meteorites quietly float in the original star system, just like usual. Even because of the camouflage outer layer of the crystal wall layer, conventional observation methods cannot even observe the existence of life inside the meteorite. When the gods descended from the heaven to various worlds, these worlds that used to exist peacefully in the universe seemed to have their own will, and began to gradually become active in the original star system. Among them, some meteorite-like worlds gathered in one direction of the original star system under the will of the gods. Where the star is, the light of the entire star is gradually shrouded by black shadows. Like a dog eclipsing the sun, the dark and depressing atmosphere permeated the entire star, and Liheo sat on the throne of Haoshin in the temple of the gods. Looking down at the star instruments displayed in the center of the pantheon, he observed the movements of many meteorite worlds in the star system. Under Liheo's observation, a large number of meteorites quickly gathered towards a group of plain worlds around the wild stars. In these plain worlds, countless races, under the influence of the gods' thinking, enthusiastically worshipped and prayed to the temples in various plain worlds. As these creatures worshipped and prayed, in the depths of their souls, a handful of red divine fire was like a spark that spread across the prairie. It quickly burned their souls, and burned all the extra thoughts in their souls. Only the firm belief in soul worship was left, and they quickly moved closer to the god spirits in the plain world. Unlike the cruelty of the Dragon God Clan, that eroded the world with the power of blood, the Phoenix God Clan chose to use the self-sacrifice of creatures and fanatical beliefs. In this way, they automatically transferred the dominance of the world to the hands of the gods, thereby achieving the unshakable sacred status of the gods in their hearts. Because they are weak, they desire to be strong. Because they are powerless, they pursue power. The cruel laws of nature are like a crazy meat grinder, constantly devouring the beliefs, souls and flesh of all spirits. Let those creatures at the bottom of the food chain endure the torture from the purgatory on earth forever. However, the Dragon Clan has carried this cruelty of the food chain to the extreme, based on the original ecological food chain, and constantly cleanse the creatures at the bottom of the food chain. The weak bloodline is excluded and wiped out, so that with an extremely brutal attitude, the weak are completely extinct and the strong are spread all over the world. The reason why the Dragon Clan is more prosperous, the less specific life form is. They are constantly absorbing the advantages of the bloodline of all spirits, but abandoning the disadvantages of the bloodline of all spirits, and using the power of all spirits, to extend a world, where all things are dragons. The highest achievement of the Dragon Clan is forged by the demise of all races. Behind the process of the expansion and growth of the Dragon Clan is the skeleton throne made of countless dry bones. No living being is willing to perish. Even if the world is cruel to them, the desire to survive from the depths of their souls will make them struggle hard in the world. The Phoenix Clan uses the desire of all living beings for living beings, to occupy the souls of living beings. The strong have a natural advantage over the weak. The strong can destroy the weak, and make them all perish. They can also naturally make the weak strong. All living beings believe in the Phoenix gods and let their souls move closer to the Phoenix gods, so that they can gain the right to control the energy of heaven and earth. The Phoenix gods can also use the faith of all living beings, to strengthen their own souls, and then integrate the souls of the gods into all aspects of the world. in the starry sky of the universe, in the central plane where many planes gather, in the phoenix god realm formed by many phoenix gods, the gods who exude the pressure of the ancient gods on the highest throne, look down at the phoenix gods below. The light and ethereal voice echoed in the god realm. In a short time, we will go to war with the dragon god clan in all aspects. The dragon god clan wants to incorporate the phoenix god clan into the ruling sequence of the dragon clan, thereby destroying the hard work of the ancestral god and the inheritance of my phoenix god clan. I cannot tolerate this matter in any way. The phoenix god clan is the hard work of the ancestral god. Although we have not been able to find the existence of the ancestral god so far, but the will of the ancestral god that exists in our souls is the most powerful proof that the ancestral god still exists. I don't want the ancestral god to appear again, and we have been wiped out in history by the dragon clan. The light and majestic voice echoed around the gods in the god realm. The powerful will from the high-level existence was like the will of heaven, announcing its will to the gods. No mistakes. One post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. After the ancient god on the highest throne spoke his words, a superior god standing under the throne said to the ancient god on the throne, "Your Majesty, the gap between us and the dragon clan is too huge. With only our current strength, even if we go to war with the dragon clan, the final result will be failure. So, may I ask you, how should we act?" The words of the superior gods represent the collective will of some gods to a certain extent, so the words of this god are also the gods asking the ancient gods for a solution. Otherwise, even if the gods have the power of immortality, because of the heaven, the feeling of being suppressed forever is still not easy. We don't have an advantage at the level of gods, so the key to our victory lies in the strength of the sentient beings on earth. Only by mobilizing the power of all sentient beings can we have a glimmer of hope of winning this war. Chapter 147 Ancient Gods Order. In the palace of the gods in the Phoenix God realm, the ancient god above the gods told the gods below about his plan. Use the war at the level of gods to delay the large-scale attack of the dragon clan and buy time for the war of the living beings in the lower world. Among the dragon clan, powerful creatures disdain to unite with weak creatures to fight. These powerful dragons usually fight with other races in a single-handed way. Even if they are forced to fight together under the pressure of the gods, they just rush forward in a swarm, without any rules at all. And this is the flaw of the dragon clan, that the Phoenix ancient god has set his sights on. Because they are powerful, they disdain to unite, and can only fight against the encirclement and suppression of the army with their own strength. Because they are weak, they unite closely, and rely on the force of their companions to ensure their own safety, to resist the slaughter of the strong. The Phoenix ancient god restricts the living beings from improving their physical strength, and instead strengthens the strength of their souls. This method fundamentally eliminates the interference of the dragon clan in the living beings in the lower world. Let the Phoenix clan have a group of warriors who are willing to sacrifice their lives in order to survive. When the ancient gods of the Phoenix God realm explained their plans to the gods, we looked across the barriers of time and space and looked towards the lower world. In the Phoenix Plane, on the Zuanling continent, inside the temple of the gods, which was successfully built by the power of all living beings in heaven and earth. Countless devout creatures prayed to the statues of the gods in the temple. The endless stream of faith and divine thoughts condensed on the statues of the gods, transmitted to the god realm, and turned into the food for the gods, to strengthen their primordial spirits. These devoutly praying creatures have different races, different habits, and even different gods they believe in. But all this did not cause tit-for-tat between them. The reason for all this is a huge pressure from the outside world. The terrible crisis of the extinction of life and genocide suppressed their differences. The various races that existed on the Zuanling continent were weak races before the Phoenix gods came. These races were at the bottom of the original ecological food chain. They injured the malice from the world in the wanton slaughter of the strong, and spent their life journey in a daze. The arrival of the Phoenix god is like a ray of light in the darkness, which has a fatal attraction to these races shrouded in darkness. After the Phoenix gods completely killed the powerful creatures at the top of the food chain, in order to accept the faith of all living beings, the great power from the Phoenix gods has completely taken root in the hearts of all living beings. Sincere prayers can bring your soul closer to the gods and receive rewards from the gods. This is the fundamental rule followed by all living beings on the Zuan continent. Ding ding ding. The sound of bells rang out in the hall of the gods, and a majestic voice, with the help of the power of the gods, echoed in the world. My fellow compatriots of the Zuan continent, it will not be long before the evil demons from outside the domain that the gods predicted will come. Fighting, destruction, and destruction. I think all of you compatriots do not want to experience again in the Dark Ages. In order for our race not to be destroyed, and for our homeland not to be destroyed, let us raise our weapons and sound the horn of war against those evil demons from outside the domain. Kill. For the stability of our homeland. For the glory of our race. We will raise our weapons. Fight to the last drop of our blood. To defend everything we have. Allah. A large number of strange races raised their sharp claws, and mysterious rune patterns flowed on their bodies. These runes were all over their bodies, and even in their eyes, they still existed. Along with the roars of these creatures, the hall symbolizing the glory of the gods bloomed with brilliant light, merging with the souls of all living beings. Strengthening the power they possessed, the sky and the earth changed color in an instant. The tremendous energy released by the war priests who ignited the divine fire, and whose souls turned sharply towards the gods, made the whole world tremble. War priests were war messengers who specialized in controlling the power of heaven and earth, and thus releasing the power of destruction. Ignition of the divine fire was a necessary condition for mortals to communicate with the gods. Only souls that could burn the divine fire could carry the power of the gods. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. In the whole of the god realm, the Phoenix ancient god looked at the fanatical war sacrifices in the lower world, and said to the gods calmly, "This is the power of all living beings." Perhaps the power of a living being is insignificant, but the powerful force formed by the gathering of tens of millions of living beings is enough to completely destroy the ambitions of the dragon race. However, this is not enough. Relying on the power of tens of millions of devout believers alone is far from enough. After all, what we have to face is the attack of the entire dragon race. Pass the order down, and order the Phoenix gods to gather with my world as soon as possible. Connect their world with this world to everything, so as to gather the power of the gods and the power of all spirits, to deal with the attack of the dragon race. As soon as the Phoenix ancient god finished speaking, the oracle from the ancient god was conveyed to the entire Phoenix clan. The levels of war sacrifices are divided into true believers, devout believers, fanatics, and holy spirits. Believers refer to living beings who ignite the divine fire. They can initially contact the part of the world that exists in the world in the power controlled by the Phoenix gods, and sign a contract with these powers, so that your soul can become a machine for releasing power. Generally speaking, as long as the soul of the believer is not exhausted, the power of power can be used on a large scale. As for the so-called level division, it is just a standard for reaching the level of releasing power. The first 3 levels are to move closer to the state of gods wholeheartedly, so as to gradually control the power of the gods, and become the deputy of the gods. As for the Holy Spirit, it is the reserve of the gods. As long as you can overcome the will of the gods in the depths of your soul, you can become a god independently. Dividing line during the period of great development of the plane, the battle between the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan was in full swing. At this time in another plane, the Killing Gods led by SUI were quietly carrying out their plans. They have never competed with the Dragon and Phoenix clans for the control of the plane, but what they are going to do is enough to subvert the existence of the entire God clan. In the Killing God realm where all the Killing Gods gathered, Su stood outside the gate of heaven that connected the God realm and the human world, looking down at the various things in the lower world. Looking at the various experiments being carried out in the lower world, Su asked a high-level god beside him, "Do you have a dream?" Chapter 148. The definition of the Killing Clan. The Killing Clan is different from the Dragon Clan, which uses blood as a link to form everything of the entire clan. It is also different from the Phoenix Clan, which uses soul as a link to extend everything of the entire clan. The formation of the Killing Clan is only because of the condensation of dreams. The many gods who joined and led the Killing Clan almost all have 1 or 2 unrealistic dreams. As Lee Heo said at the beginning, the three paths of essence, energy, and spirit. The dragon occupies the path of essence and blood, and rules everything with blood. The phoenix occupies the path of spirit and soul, and rules everything with soul. The killer occupies the path of energy, and rules everything with will. God is the past, essence is the present, and energy is the future. The Phoenix clan, which respects the soul, worships everything in the past, and they summarize knowledge from past experiences. The Dragon clan, which respects blood, believes in the power of the present, and they draw power from the current blood. The Killen clan, which is based on will, pursues the changes of the future, and they open up light in the darkness. The differences in the actions of the three have led to a series of changes. Conservative knowledge, boiling blood, and firm will. These three cores formed the three branches of the God clan. Now, Suwon asked the gods around him about his dream, and he was looking for their common ground to strengthen his will. After hearing Sui's question, the spirit beside Sui smiled, then shook his head and said, "Dream. Of course I have one, otherwise why would I give up all my power and follow you? That's because only you can make my dream a little closer. So what is your dream?" "My dream. My dream is that one day, the development and evolution of all things can be recorded in words, so that all living beings can know about it. This kind of text does not need to be too complicated, nor does it need to contain any powerful power. It is just a tool for recording. It is not a switch used to create destruction and killing. Words should exist to allow living beings to solve contradictions in history. It is not a weapon for attack. And my dream is to create a kind of text that can be used normally by living beings. Get rid of the interference power in the divine text and the magic text, so that the text can truly become a tool for recording, rather than a weapon for attack. Isn't this dream ridiculous? Obviously, the divine text and the magic text are the text language that can express all records to the maximum extent. But I want to ban the function of this kind of text, so as to reduce its efficiency. After listening to the dream of the god beside him, he nodded gently and said, "Kanji, your dream is indeed ridiculous. But this is for gods at our level, because compared to us, the text and language that can express the will of the gods to the greatest extent are the best tools. But for most of the mortals who occupy the entire world, this kind of text and language is too high-end. The things contained in it can distort the fragile will of living beings, thus turning them into puppets of gods and demons. In this way, how can we pass on historical records? You are the first god who can understand me. Now I want to know, what is your dream?" Kanji said with a smile. Looking at the active creatures below, Sui sighed and said, "My dream. I want to create a new world. This existing world is too chaotic, with gods fighting for hegemony above, and all races fighting below. This chaos that permeates everything makes me feel very uncomfortable. I want to calm this world down, at least not like now, where all the creatures in a plane world are destroyed at any time, and tens of millions of creatures die. I can't get used to the wailing of creatures when they die." Listening to Sui's narration, Kanji walked in front of Sui and used the eyes of the gods to observe the thousands of creatures below. Then he said with a slightly questioning tone, "You want to create a new world, but your actions and the gods you mentioned seem to be no different. At this time in the lower world, many conscripted army corps acting in accordance with Sui's will were carrying out the most thorough decomposition of the creatures captured from various planes one by one, turning them into blood water filled with blood pools, thus recording the changes in the blood vessels in these creatures." Hearing Kanji's slightly questioning tone, Sui said calmly, "The birth of the new world requires the destruction of the old world as a prelude. Only when everything in the old world is completely destroyed can sufficient conditions be provided for the birth of the new world. The retreat of the gods and the reunification of all races are necessary conditions. In order to realize the creation of the new world, some sacrifices are worth it. Even if you want to realize your dream, if you have not abandoned the influence of the divine text and the magic text, how can you let all living beings use your text? After all, compared to the shortcut of being able to instantly gain power through initiation, the destruction of mere will is nothing." After hearing Sui's words, Kanji could not refute, and could only accept it helplessly. The reason why Kangji said that words and language are a kind of weapon is because the existence of the language and words of gods and demons can interfere with the consciousness of living beings on a large scale, thereby dominating the self-will of living beings and turning them into puppets in the hands of gods and demons. Under the dominance of this kind of powerful text, it is very difficult for Kangji to promote his own non-interference text. If you want all living beings to abandon the bad habit of taking shortcuts and fall into the control of gods and demons, you can only destroy this shortcut to fundamentally solve this problem. The language and text of gods and demons is a conceptual existence. It is an innate thing that is produced in order to allow gods and demons to fully express their fundamental meaning. Ordinary things cannot be learned, nor can they be passed on. They can only be passively applied, but not actively corrected. The weak accept the will of the strong, and the result is that they are fully covered by the will of the strong, thus losing the possibility of the future. Dividing line in the silent and empty universe, the meteorite world controlled by the Phoenix God clan accelerated towards the world where the Phoenix ancient god was. As time passed, a large number of meteorite worlds lingered on the edge of the Phoenix plane, and then gradually merged with the Phoenix plane. The various planes dominated by the will of the gods gradually appeared on the edge of the ocean of the Phoenix plane. As if born from nothingness, complete continents, divine realms inhabited by gods, merged with the Phoenix plane. Continents merged with each other, and the creatures on the continents were also familiar with each other under the guidance of the will of the gods. In the divine realm, the powerful divine realm composed of many divine realms greatly enhanced the Phoenix clan's ability to deal with the Dragon clan. Chapter 149 Phoenix Star. In the vast, silent, cold, and dark void of the universe, Lee Hao's figure turned into a beam of light and shuttled through the interior of the original star system. The light transformed by Lee Hao was like a starry sky beast that was rampant, causing endless waves in the energy ocean inside the star system. These energy tides created by Lee Hao interfered with the plane navigation inside the galaxy, turning the calm particle ocean into a magnificent space-time storm. In this space-time storm, a large number of planes existing in the particle ocean were pushed away from their original direction, and thus shuttled to the outside of the galaxy like drifting islands. One by one, the plane meteorites carrying gods and sentient beings drifted into the unknown universe. They will serve as Lee Hao's vanguard army to explore the universe, thus providing Lee Hao with a lot of information about the unknown universe. Looking at the plane meteorites that were leaving, Lee Hao said with emotion, "After a long time, I can finally leave this place. As long as the Dragon Phoenix War is over, the huge energy accumulated in it will be enough for me to control the energy of the stars, thus providing a powerful source of power for me to explore the unknown universe." A large number of plane meteorites, driven by Lee Hao, left the original star system and sailed in the unknown universe. The gods in the plane meteorites will be the extension of Lee Hao's tentacles. Any area of the universe that the gods can observe is the frontline colony where Lee Hao can send troops to station. Although the activity of the god particle will continue to weaken with the extension of the distance, according to Lee Hao's estimation, when the first plane meteorite arrives at the nearest cosmic star, it is the time for Lee Hao to start the entire original star system chariot. He shifted his gaze from the plane meteorites that were moving away to the Phoenix star that was constantly gathering and growing inside the original star system. At this time, with the gathering of a large number of Phoenix gods, with the Phoenix ancient god as a core, an artificial star was formed. Although the mass of this star is not as high as the first 5 giant stars in the original star system, it is much higher than other planes. The Phoenix totem formed by this is also getting stronger and stronger, and endless pressure permeates around Phoenix star. It suppresses the aftermath of the space-time storm set off by Lee Hao, so that the plane meteorites moving towards Phoenix star will not be interfered by the aftermath of the space-time storm, so that they can merge with Phoenix star normally. It's really a big deal, gathering thousands of meteorites to create a star to defend against the attack of the Dragon clan. It's just that your ancestors failed hundreds of years ago, and now will you repeat the same mistake? I'll wait and see. Standing in the void of the universe, Phoenix star is like a giant beast that devours stars, endlessly devouring plane meteorites from all directions. As these meteorites are swallowed and merged into Phoenix Star, the massive Phoenix Star is rising. After the gods descended into the plane world, the gods' bodies merged with the material plane, the gods' spirits merged with the souls of all living beings, and the will of the gods dominated the will of all living beings. In this highly unified trinity, every time the Phoenix Star swallowed a plane meteorite, it was equivalent to integrating all the power of the entire plane. The perspective was reduced to the plane worldview. I saw that around the Zuan-Ling continent, one continent after another carried the myriad living beings on it, and collided and merged with the Zuan-Ling continent. Often with the sound of earth-shaking collisions, it means that a material plane has merged with the Zuan-Ling continent. In this case of constant collision and fusion, the earth has become heavier, the sky has become higher, and the upper limit of the strength of living beings has been continuously stretched. The active spiritual energy of heaven and earth is like a violent hurricane, wandering wantonly between heaven and earth. These spiritual energies of heaven and earth, which have become rich by the fusion of many planes, signed an initial contract with all the living beings on the Zuan-Ling continent under the will of the gods in the divine world. Anyone who ignites the divine fire of the soul is a follower of the gods and a war priest who protects world peace. The power of idols is great, and the mobilization power of great men is amazing. As the deification of great men, the mobilization power of gods is even more terrifying. Almost at the command of the gods, those war priests who ignited the divine fire were like fearless war machines, roaring and charging towards any GD. It was for the gods they believed in, and also to protect their homes. The weak united together, because of their weakness. Although they did not have the courage to challenge the darkness alone, they followed the torrent of thoughts, and exerted the power of thoughts to the greatest pillar of power. Under the fanatical atmosphere of faith, almost every day a large number of creatures ignited the divine fire of the soul, thereby contacting the power of the gods, and obtaining the means to control supernatural energy. The passage of time is like a flood, ruthlessly crushing all obstacles, and bringing the future to the present. No mistakes. One post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. As time went by, the first wave of attacks from the Dragon Clan officially arrived at the periphery of Phoenix Star. In the eyes of the creatures of Zuan-Ling continent, at the edge of the endless ocean, dark and hideous shadows were like maggots attached to the bones, constantly devouring the normal world. Is this a sign of the advent of the evil world? I think so. What a disgusting world. The discussion sounded at the edge of the coastal defense line of Zuan-Ling continent. These armies composed of war priests will be the first line of defense for the creatures of Zuan-Ling continent. Because of the difference in the order and rules of the two worlds, in the eyes of the creatures of the two worlds, the other world is full of twisted and disgusting monsters. Once they come into contact with the existence of the other, the disgust that emerges from the depths of the soul will surge like a fountain. In the void of the outer domain, the material plane controlled by the Dragon Clan of the upper god slowly approaches the area where Phoenix Star is located. Unlike the smooth fusion of the planes of the Phoenix gods, as the Dragon Clan plane approaches, a strong repulsive force is generated between the Dragon Clan plane and Phoenix Star. The difference in the order and rules of the two worlds means that, if the Dragon Clan wants to descend to the Phoenix Star, it will cost a huge price. The Phoenix Star is based on the Soul Fire, which has shaped a series of rules that are advantageous to the Phoenix gods. These rules are extremely terrifying and corrosive rules for the creatures in the Dragon Clan plane. The gods can use their powerful will to distort the existence of the gods' rules, so that they can exert normal combat effectiveness in the other plane. However, for mortals who have not become gods, this malice from the world is enough to make the creatures in the other plane lose their powerful power when they just set foot on the Phoenix Star, because of the different rules of the world. Chapter 150 Dragon vs Phoenix. The Phoenix takes the soul as its foundation, thus creating the soul first rule in the Zuan-Ling continent. Only a strong soul can possess strong power. However, this is fatal to the world, created by the Dragon Clan based on blood. In the Dragon Clan rules, only a strong blood can possess strong power. In the collision of two different rules, the weak will be assimilated by the strong. When everything in the material world is equal to the gods, the world is assimilated, which means that the gods are shaken to their foundation and forced to change camps in order to exist. In the extraterritorial plane world, the Kangmu dragon god stared at the Zuanling continent in the Phoenix Star. A different rule structure emerged in front of the Kangmu dragon god, which was completely opposite to the dragon clan's rules. The dragon clan values blood rather than soul, while this rule structure values soul rather than blood. The Kangmu dragon god Zuanshan sensed the world rules that existed on the Zuanling continent, and were created, based on the soul. His brows furrowed slightly. This is not easy. If you want to force your way into the alien plane, before breaking through the blockade of alien rules, you will only face two paths, death, and assimilation. It seems that I still have to ask the gods for their opinions. As he spoke, the will of the Kangmu dragon god in the heaven moved towards the position where Aoling was. The gods exist in the plane world in a trinity state, with their will in the sky, their bodies integrated into the earth, and their souls in harmony with all living beings. The meaning of the will in the sky is not that it really exists in the sky of the plane, but that the will resides in the heavens. In the trinity form, the material body and the souls of all living beings are the coordinates and sources of power for the gods to descend. Following the order and rules of the heavens, the Kangmu dragon god came to Aoling, bowed his head and respectfully asked Aoling, "May I ask the venerable god, how should we deal with the rule defense of the phoenix gods?" Aoling opened his cyan eyes, and endless divine light bloomed in his pupils, penetrating the endless barriers of time and space, and then looked at the ancient gods existing on the Phoenix Star. Suzaku, do you really want to rebel against the order of the heavens, and betray the glory of the gods? In the Phoenix Star god realm, Suzaku, the only ancient god of the Phoenix clan, is quietly experiencing the huge power from the gathering of the Phoenix gods. According to the rules of soul worship, the soul power of the weak will be accommodated by the soul of the strong in the form of a contract. The weak use the quality of the strong soul to derive the quantity of their own soul. The strong use the quantity of the weak soul to gather the quality of their own soul. During this period of mutual exchange of soul quality, the strength of the weak soul is improved, and the quality of the strong soul is consolidated. In the Phoenix God clan, the soul is a gathering of knowledge, and the conversion of soul quality is that the weak use their own knowledge to exchange for the knowledge of the strong. Between gods, this exchange is equal, because the gods know what they need and what they don't need. They will not accept knowledge that they don't want to accept, because of the will of the strong, so as not to change their foundation by the cognition of the strong. Between gods and mortals, this exchange of soul quality can easily evolve into an exploitative relationship. The quality exchange between gods and mortals often becomes a one-sided supply of gods in disguise, because of the unsteadiness of mortals' will. The cognition of gods is correct for mortals, but it is also distorted, because the consequence of mortals rashly leaping to the perspective of gods is bound to be the emptiness of the foundation of the soul. The only way to solve it is to get rid of the cognition of gods and become independent, or accept the cognition of gods in all aspects, and become a vassal of gods. This is a natural state, and does not change due to the will of gods and mortals. When Zook accepted the soul power from the gods, Aoling's voice echoed in his ears. Zook woke up from the ocean of souls, and the crimson divine pupils were like a blazing fire, wanting to burn everything in the world. The order and rules of heaven, I think they are your order and rules. Aoling, you use the dragon clan rules to forcibly define the order of heaven, and want to let the gods of heaven return to the days of killing all things. In this way, the evolution of the dragon clan bloodline is established. Your selfishness is destroying the order of heaven. Zook's voice penetrated the barriers of time and space, and rang in Aoling's ears. The great power possessed by the ancient gods is enough to allow them to communicate with any living being at any time and any place. The transmission of this information is not cut off by the interference of things, because the imprint of the ancient gods exists in every corner of the world. Their glory shines on the worlds. As long as they want, they can descend into any world, of course, provided that there is no obstruction from the same level of strong people. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619. Everything I do is to maintain the strength of the gods. Only fierce competition can keep the glory of the gods from falling, and make strength the synonym of the gods forever. The glory of the gods cannot be tarnished by the existence of the weak. Aoling's words were full of disdain for the weak. Years of war have long made Aoling have a different understanding of the world. Weakness is the original sin, and only the elimination of weakness is the eternal truth of the world. The glory of the gods does not exist because of violence. The gods are glorious because of their profound knowledge, not noble because of violence. Everything you do is pushing the gods and all living beings step by step into the abyss of death and chaos. Zook refuted Aoling's words. It's ridiculous to be honored for being knowledgeable. Don't make a mistake. In this world, only the strong are knowledgeable, and only the weak are ignorant. The definition of the strong and the weak is the survival of the fittest. Only the strong who adapt to all fierce competition are the representatives of all glory. What you do is putting the cart before the horse. Those who have everything are not necessarily strong, and the strong must have everything. Aoling rejected Zook's views and criticized Zook for putting the cart before the horse. In the time of the ancient gods, Aoling and Zook had a fierce confrontation, but in the time of the outside world, it was only a moment. Almost as soon as Kangmu asked Aoling his question, Aoling replied, "Use blood to irrigate the earth. Let the blood of the dragon clan dye the entire continent red. Let the will of the dragon clan completely destroy the will of the phoenix." As Aoling's words came out, a monstrous bloody smell filled the heavens. The power of the ancient gods, the sky and the earth changed color. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.